Chapter 21. That night, the stars were shining brightly. Woodleaf's golden light was shining. Watergate was sitting under a tree with a bottle of wine beside him. Oh! Watergate, San can also drink? Nangongja was surprised to see the wine beside Watergate. Oh! So it's Nangong Jun. Did you come to support? Yes. Woodleaf Jonan Nangongja was ordered by Tsunade-sama to support the rock. Well. You don't have to be so serious. I don't want to be so serious tonight. Looking at Nangongja's serious face, Watergate felt an inexplicable sense of irritation. Is this wine for Hataki-senpai? Seeing Watergate's strange expression, Nangongja slowly sat next to him, leaning against the tree behind him, and asked. Yeah. The legend of Konoha's White Fang actually ended up like this. My words carry little weight and I can't do more than that. I can only offer him a bottle of good wine to comfort his spirit. Nangongja knew that Watergate, as a Sanin's disciple, must know more and see more darkness. At this time, Watergate didn't have his usual sunny and cheerful image. Instead, he was a bit depressed. Watergate, San. Before I left, Tsunade-sama told me that Woodleaf is no longer the Woodleaf it used to be. Watergate was smart enough to understand the meaning of Nangongja's words. Everything has to change. What will remain the same? Woodleaf Village has been around for decades, and there have been 3 generations of Hokage. This is also the replacement of 3 generations. The human heart has never been a firm and stable thing. The existence of troubled times will arouse more darkness in people's hearts. This will bring slaughter, disaster, and death. I'm not the only one who can see through these things. Everyone can think of it as long as they meditate. But it's easy to know but hard to do. How many people will want to change it? Countless people have died on this path. The first Hokage, the second Hokage, and now Sandai may have had such thoughts a few years ago, but now. I can't say it's gone, but of course, it's a lot fainter. Minato shook his head and leaned the back of his head against the tree trunk. He didn't speak anymore. But isn't Hataki-senpai? I fought for Konoha all my life, and wielded my sword for Konoha. Killed countless enemies, shocked the world. In the end, this is the end? Is this the attitude of Konoha towards those who are loyal to it? Someone who has already decayed to the point of being a pillar can be destroyed wantonly? The princess of Senju clan, who has been rotten to the point of being Woodleaf for generations, wants to escape far away. Seeing Watergate's silence, Nangongja couldn't bear it anymore. His words were like a knife cutting the heart of the listener. How many people in this world have been wronged? The long river of the ninja world is the endless flow of heroes' blood, the endless tears. As long as this era continues, we can only keep bleeding and crying. I'm not willing. I don't want to. But I'm not strong enough. Did the god of shinobi, who was as strong as the first Hokage, finally create peace? Still no. I can only endure, I can only continue to enrich myself. One day, I will change this ninja world. If I can't, then let my children continue. For generations, there will be no end. Watergate's words were getting more and more intense, and in the end, he was almost roaring. Realizing his gaffe, Watergate took a deep look at Nangongja and left. Hataki-san, I'm not as strong as you, nor as strong as the first Hokage. I don't know if I can change the era. Such ambition is too far for me. But, as long as I have a little power, I'm willing to help. Help those who need help. I'm willing to guide the way forward with my sword. Heart is easy to break. Hataki-san, you're right. But if I lose this strength, is it still a sword? Nangongja picked up the bottle left by Watergate and poured it on the ground. Senpai. Drink this wine, and pick up the sword in the next life. After that, Nangongja turned around and left. At this time, a man with white hair appeared behind the tree. Jiraiya. Hero's blood? Parting tears? Watergate. You're right. It's not only people who are wrong, but also generations. Could the child of prophecy that the great Toad Immortal mentioned be you? Tsunade. Are you leaving? Then what's the point of me staying here? Ha ha ha, is it rotten? This tree. With a desolate laugh, Jiraiya also left. Kill. People who give up the mission are not worthy of sympathy. I'm a ninja. Ruthlessness is the way of the ninja. Ah. Kakashi crazily slashed the training post in front of him. Kakashi. Nangongja appeared behind Kakashi and looked at Kakashi at this moment. What's wrong? Kakashi turned his head and looked at Nangongja. His eyes changed. It was not like the arrogant and confident when they first met. At this time, his eyes were filled with anger, killing intent, and bottomless indifference. If you want to practice sword, I'll accompany you. Seeing Kakashi, who was a bit broken at this time, Nangongja didn't know what to say. In that case, they could only fight for a while and vent their frustrations. Nangongja slowly pulled out the long sword on his back and crossed with Kakashi's sword. White Fang, what's wrong? Kakashi, what's wrong? Just because of some inexplicable speculation and intention, you can take away a hero who sacrificed his life for the village? Destroy a boy who was originally a promising boy? None of this should happen. But what can I do? I can't do anything. Why, Father Sama is the person who deserves the title of ninja the most. But he killed himself because he gave up the mission and was forced by everyone. Coward. Selfish. Why? Why did you leave me behind? Both of them were actually venting their emotions at this time. Threw the sword and the sword again and again. The two didn't hold back and just attacked again and again. After a long time, the sound of metal and stone colliding stopped. Only two people fell to the ground, each of them had a lot of wounds on their body. Kakashi. Do you hate your father? Nangongja, one of the two people who fell to the ground, suddenly asked. I hate him. But I don't hate him for giving up the mission. I hate him for killing himself. He shouldn't have left this world like this. There are some things I can't say more. This matter is not as simple as it looks. Huh. Nangong-jun, don't forget. I'm the young master of the Hataki family. Woodleaf at this moment, I don't know everything, but I know a lot. That's right. I actually forgot about this. I can't be so rational now. Only madness, only suppressing emotions can avoid more persecution. After this battle, I'll apply to join the dark group and leave some people's sight. But, this is not over. Of course, even if you want to end it. I won't end it. Chapter 22. There was endless killing. Woodleaf seemed to have started to target the Rock's grain transport team. A lot of jonins and affiliated ninjas were sent to carry out missions. Nangongja wasn't suitable for this kind of destruction mission, so Nangongja's mission was to block the enemy's reinforcements. Everyone knew that the Rock ninjas had run out of food and ammunition in this battle. If the supply route can be blocked smoothly, Konoha's victory will be set. Let's not talk about the killing for the time being. On this day, Nangongja finished his sniping mission. He returned to the Woodleaf camp. Just as he was about to go back to rest, an acquaintance entered the camp. It was Watergate and his team. Nangongja didn't have any intention to pay attention to them. But the team was missing one person, Uchiha Obito. At this moment, Kakashi's hair was disheveled, and there were many wounds on his body. Although Harano Rin didn't suffer any serious injuries, her hands were full of blood. As for Minato, everyone could see the look of self-responsibility on his face right now. It's Obito. Nangongja stepped forward, walked to Watergate's side, and quietly asked. Watergate didn't speak, he just nodded. Kakashi looked up at Nangongja. His originally pitch-black eyes had now become a strange combination of black and red. The red one was a Sharingan with 2 tomo. In order to protect me. Obito was hit by the enemy's ninjutsu. In the end, there was nothing left of him. Kakashi said in a seemingly indifferent tone. But the red eyes and slightly trembling shoulders all confirmed Kakashi's feelings at the moment. It's hard to break the pot away from the well, and it's inevitable that a general will die in battle. Since you're a ninja, you have to be prepared to die. We can't do anything, because we're the ones who put our lives on the line. Nangongja tried to comfort Kakashi. Nangong-jun, don't worry. When I stepped onto the battlefield, I was already mentally prepared. But although I often have some conflicts with Obito, he has always been my best friend in my heart. It was always hard for a good friend to pass away. Obito gave me this eye, so I will try my best to use it to see all kinds of things in this world for Obito, and use it to help Obito see the day when the shinobi world is stable. Hearing Kakashi's words, Nangongja's heart that had been hanging in the air finally calmed down. However, Nangongja suddenly thought of something and turned to look at Watergate. This Sharingan is also a disaster. Everyone knows what kind of people the Uchiha clan is. But this Sharingan fell on Kakashi's body. Will the Uchiha clan give up so easily? This. Watergate was also embarrassed. This is indeed a disaster. But looking at the sadness in Kakashi's eyes, Watergate also hardened his heart and said, I will work hard for the Uchiha clan. Kakashi's heart and Obito's last wish, I will try my best to keep it. Since Watergate already has a plan in your heart, then I won't say anything more. You have also returned from a mission, go and rest. Then we will take our leave. Watergate slightly bowed to Nangongja and left with Kakashi and Rin. Obito, although that kid is stupid, but he just left like that, it's really, a ninja. This is a ninja. Looking at the surrounding fog, Nangongja was embarrassed. Because, the fog was so thick that he couldn't see anything. Yes, Nangongja went to all 3 battlefields of Woodleaf. Now the sand battlefield is continuing to advance, and the rock battlefield is becoming more and more stable with the completion of the food robbery plan. As a result, Nangongja was assigned to the mist battlefield. Known as the blood mist battlefield, the intensity of the battle is several times worse than the other 2 battlefields. At this moment, Nangongja's task was to chase an umbu sent to investigate the Woodleaf. This fog is too thick. I just got assigned to the mist battlefield and I have to face such a thick fog? It's really, unfortunate. Nangongja actually taught himself how to pick up girls. Nangongja seemed to be unable to tell the direction at the moment, he just kept moving forward following the footprints left on the ground. Brush. At this moment, Nangongja suddenly heard the sound of a ninja tool behind him. The ninja tool was about to hit Nangongja's back. At this time, Nangongja suddenly unsheathed his black sword. Ding! 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 Several shurikens were shot down by Nangongja. Is this all the mist ninja's tricks? Nangongja suddenly said jokingly. Yes, Nangongja had been pretending to be relaxed, waiting for the enemy's umbu to attack. Although Nangongja just arrived at the mist battlefield not long ago, he had some understanding of the mist ninja's methods. Even if they were being chased, most of the mist ninjas hoped to escape with their lives. At this moment, the umbu didn't know what Nangongja expected. Leaving footprints on the ground, you want me to keep going in circles, wear down my patience, and wait for an opportunity to counterattack. Aren't you underestimating Konoha's Jonin too much? Oh. Suddenly, there was a clear laughter in the fog, is that so? You're the one who underestimated the mist ninjas. Water release, mist jutsu. The fog around him became thicker. A figure suddenly jumped out from Nangongja's right side. The kunai and the black sword collided, and sparks flew. You want to play sword jutsu with me? You're still too young. After a long time of killing, Nangongzhi was very familiar with the 13 swords that Nangong Ro gave him. Every move was full of murderous intent. After only 4 or 5 exchanges, Nangongzhi's opponent was knocked to the ground with a single slash. Nangongzhi said with his sword at the opponent's throat. Die. At this time, there was a clear laughter under the mask. Not good. Water doppelganger? Nangongzhi stabbed the water doppelganger, but at the same time, the splashing water began to gather. Water release, water prison jutsu. A small white hand appeared on top of Nangongzhi's head, and countless splashes quickly gathered into a huge water ball that wrapped around Nangongzhi. Under the lack of oxygen and water pressure, Nangongzhi began to lose consciousness. At this time, a figure appeared in front of the water ball, and it was the real body of the mist ninja. Now it's my turn to kill you. The Umbu took out a kunai from his back and was about to stab Nangongzhi. The corners of Nangongzhi's mouth opened. Although he drank a few mouthfuls of water, he still had a bright smile on his face. No. It's my turn to kill you. The ice blue light instantly covered the whole black sword, and the oscillating internal force made the water ball tumble. Bang! A loud sound was heard, and Nangongzhi quickly rushed to the enemy. Chapter 23. Just as Nangongzhi was about to stab the Umbu with his sword, the sound of hidden weapons came from both sides. Another ambush? Nangongzhi immediately jumped back and dodged the hidden weapon that was shot at him. Come out. If you want to save this person, how can you save him in the dark? Nangongzhi looked left and right to find a place to hide. Of course, Konoha's Yama shinobi, Minamiya, isn't someone we can defeat just by hiding, right? Finally, 2 more masked members of the dark unit appeared from the shadows. I didn't expect that I would have a reputation in the mist. This really makes me scared. Nangongzhi said with a smile. Yamasama's performance in the sand and rock battlefields has long been known to everyone. It's normal for Umbu hiding in the shadows to know. Otherwise, if one day you don't know who killed you, wouldn't it be a pity? One of the 3 Umbu stepped forward and slightly bowed to Nangongzhi. Well. We've been talking for so long, and I've recovered. Presumably, you've already sent the signal. Let's fight. I'll let you go. Nangongzhi pulled out the black sword on his back and pointed to the first Umbu. It's just. I can't let you take her away. After all, I haven't failed a mission yet. It's too bad to make an exception for such a thing, isn't it? As soon as Nangongzhi's voice fell, he rushed toward the first Umbu. We can't let you do as you wish. The leader of the Umbu shouted, and the 2 Umbu behind him followed. The 3 of them lined up against Nangongzhi. Water release, great waterfall. Water release, water dragon bullet. The 2 Umbu at the back simultaneously used ninjutsu. The great waterfall and water dragon bullet combined into one and rushed toward Nangongzhi. The leader of the Umbu at the front pulled out his sword and faced Nangongzhi. Ninjutsu? You can't stop me. Oscillating sword. The ice blue brilliance instantly covered the black sword, and the blade of the black sword emitted a white light. Cut. The black sword directly cut the oncoming water dragon and torrent. When the water ninjutsu manipulates the water, chakra is connected, and Nangongzhi quickly cut the nodes, making the whole ninjutsu collapse. As soon as the ninjutsu dissipated and the water scattered, the leader of the Umbu rushed up under the cover of the mist. Water release, mist technique. The mist suddenly became thicker under the control of chakra. So. Yama? Come and try my silent killing technique. An ethereal voice came from the mist. Heart. Kidney. Lungs. Brain. Liver. Spine. Where should I attack first? The words in the mist with murderous intent pressured Nangongzhi. Ha ha ha. Nangongja felt the murderous intent around him. Instead of being nervous, he laughed. Do you know who was the first person to train me to adapt to the murderous intent? It was Woodleaf White Fang. And I was crowned as Yama by the Sand Ninja, so your murderous intent is nothing to worry about. Nangongja said, and the long sword in his hand blocked the attacks from the Umbu leader and the other two Umbu. Since you made a move, then I can't do nothing. Looking at the Umbu around him, he laughed. You're just trying to buy time, but I don't want to give you time. Nangongja bit his right thumb and pressed his bloody finger on the lion head imprint on his left shoulder. The lion head imprint instantly turned crimson. Black Lion Ryo. I call you here, protect me, and fight with me. In an instant, the black thunder wrapped around Nangongja's body. Slowly, the thunder condensed together and turned into a black armor. The chest armor was a roaring lion head, and the joints of the body were sharp like knives. Right now, Nangongja was like a lion that was about to hunt its prey. I haven't let anyone see this move yet, and today, for a quick battle, I'll let you see it. In an instant, the thunder surged, the blood churned, and a strong wind shot in all directions, instantly dispersing the mist around him. Only 3 stunned Umbu were left behind. Die! Nangongja stepped on the ground, and his whole body flew out, leaving only some thunder in the air, indicating that Nangongja had passed by. In an instant, the 3 Umbu were beheaded. The blood splattered in the air, indicating the disappearance of 3 lives. Seeing that the female assassin who was his target had already been beheaded, Nangongja walked up to her and took out a scroll to seal her head inside. Mission completed. Then, she lost her body. At this moment, a huge Nepenthes suddenly appeared on a big tree next to him. Ha ha ha. Is this kid so powerful? The Nepenthes split open, and a half-black and half-white head appeared. The white side was happy, and the black side was gloomy. The 2 expressions were strangely and harmoniously blended together on the same face. Nangongja, Woodleaf's Yama. He was taught by Hatake Sakumo, Woodleaf's White Fang, Hatake Sakumo. His ninjutsu is very poor, but his swordsmanship is superb. He has outstanding performance in the rock, sand, and mist battlefields. However, his weakness is also very obvious, his sister, Nangong-ro. Oh. Black Zetsu, you're really insidious. I can't stand it anymore. Humph. The black half of the face coldly snorted, and didn't continue the white half of the face's words. Instead, he said what he knew. This Nangongja's family seems to have been destroyed by the ninja war, and he has repeatedly expressed his dissatisfaction with the current Woodleaf. We can absorb him into the Akatsuki. The Biju's resistance to ninjutsu is extremely high, and ordinary ninjutsu is almost useless. At least an A-class ninjutsu is useful. But taijutsu is different. This guy's taijutsu is extremely profound, and even his power system can restrain chakra to a certain extent. It's good for our future plans. Then let's observe, we still have a long time. We're not in a hurry, and Nagato hasn't grown enough to implement the plan yet. Also, at this time, pay attention to the future. Let's record it and let Madara see what he can do. The 2? As the voice fell, their figures disappeared. Nangongja didn't know at this time that the biggest whirlpool in the ninja world was approaching him. But even if Nangongja knew, he wouldn't care. As a swordsman, he was never afraid of challenges, right? After returning to the camp to hand over the mission, Nangongja was not idle, but he was called by the commander, Orochimaru, to his tent. Chapter 24. Everyone is here now. Nangongja walked into the tent, followed by Orochimaru's unique, somewhat gloomy and hoarse voice. I have gathered 9 jonins and 15 chunins for a total of 24 ninjas. I want to give you an important order. Orochimaru said as he turned to face the map hanging behind him and pointed with the bamboo pole in his hand. here will be the final battle between us and the mist. Now we have almost all the advantages, but the enemy has been attacking for a long time. I have summed up the reasons why we can't break out of this situation. First, we are not familiar with the battlefield. At this moment, most of the battlefield has extended to the territory of the water country. Although we have specialized ninjas to observe the terrain and climate here, the variability is beyond the scope of observation. Second, the influence of the climate. Konoha's ninjas mostly use fire release and earth release. Although we also have water release ninjas, the water release of the mist ninjas is better than ours. The climate here is humid, and the ground is full of mud. The suppression of fire and earth release is too strong. The power of a ninjutsu will be reduced by at least 20%. Third, the training mechanism of the mist ninjas has caused many of them to be extremely aggressive. Even if we judge that they have lost the ability to attack, they may detonate the explosive tags in the next second and cause damage. These three are the main reasons, but there are more reasons that lead to the anxiety of the war. Woodleaf Headquarters has already sent the signal of the sand surrender. On the Rocks battlefield, Woodleaf and Kyumo Shinobu have already reached an agreement to form an alliance because of the conflict between the 4th Raikage and the 3 generations Tsuchikage. The end of the Rocks battlefield is only a matter of time. Now, the only thing that hasn't changed is the Mist's battlefield. I believe that no one here is willing to leave people at home like this, right? Everyone in the tent heard Orochimaru's words, and suddenly most of them were ashamed. But now, I have found a turning point. While everyone was depressed, Orochimaru slowly began to explain the main reason for this gathering. According to the information we got from the Mist, the famous 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist have now gathered and attacked our headquarters with the intention of destroying our command system. The reason I've gathered all of you this time is so that you can all go and snipe. The significance of the 7 legendary swordsmen to the Mist is self-evident, and their defeat will shake the morale of the Mist army. If our army launches an all-out attack at this time, we will definitely achieve half the result with twice the effort. Among the 9 jonins gathered here, there are 3 taijutsu-type jonins. Nangongja will be in charge of commanding them. Orochimaru turned to look at Nangongja and gave the order. Yes. Nangongja quickly complied. There are also 3 ninjutsu-type ninjas under Sato's command. Yes. The last 3 ninjas are comprehensive ninjas, so they will be dispatched by the Jonin Murashita. Yes. This battle mainly relies on taijutsu ninjas to fight, ninjutsu ninjas to support, and integrated ninjas to kill. The 15 chunins will be assigned by the 3 jonins themselves. Next, let the staff introduce the information about the 7 ninja swordsmen. As soon as Orochimaru's voice fell, a ninja walked up to the podium, and several ninjas followed behind him with many scrolls and pictures. Now, let's introduce the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist. We already know the names of these 7 swordsmen, but we still don't know the specific functions of several of them. Here are the pictures of several swordsmen drawn by our intelligence ninjas. You can study them later during the tactical discussion. The 7 swordsmen are Fang, Needle, Kabuto, Shark Skin, Flat Eyes, Beheading Sword, and Flying Foam. Among them, Fang is held by a ninja named Kurosawa. The information we have is that this saber can control lightning, but we don't know the specific effects and power. Needle is held by Sasaru, which is an auxiliary sword of the 7 ninja swordsmen. It plays the role of a medical ninja, of course, its attack is also good. Kabuto is held by Nakamura, and this sword seems to exist as a vanguard. Shark Skin is held by the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish. This sword has been wrapped in bandages. We don't even have a record of its true appearance. Please be careful. Flat Eyes is held by Hozuki Mangetsu. Hozuki clan's Kekkei Genkai is very difficult to deal with. We don't know the ability of Flat Eyes yet. Beheading Sword is held by Biwa Juzo, and there is no specific record of the ability of this sword. The last sword is called Flying Foam. There are many explosive tags on this sword, and it must have a lot to do with explosion. The owner is Shinhachi Wu. Under the analysis of our headquarters staff, Kabuto and Beheading Sword should be the vanguard. Fang and Flying Foam are mainly responsible for range attacks. Beheading Sword and Shark Skin are responsible for single attack. As for the Last Needle, it should be responsible for wandering left and right, waiting for the opportunity to attack. These are just the contents of our summary based on the existing intelligence. It is very likely that there are omissions, and you can only use it as a reference, depending on the situation. After the staff finished speaking, he bowed to Orochimaru, and Orochimaru then walked to the stage. I know that many of you have been summoned as soon as you finished the mission. Although the 7 people have been summoned, it will take at least 3 days to reach the battlefield. I hope that you can complete the rest and make a good battle plan during this time. Orochimaru finished his speech and looked deeply at the 24 ninjas in the tent. Your mission is extremely important. It is very likely that there will be a large number of casualties, and I hope that everyone can do their best. I wish you all the best. After Orochimaru finished his last sentence, he actually bowed to all the ninjas, which was a rare sight for him. It seems that this mission is not as simple as it was introduced. The Mist Ninja 7 swordsmen are all jonin, and with the strange ninja sword and their respective sword skills, their strength has reached the level of elite jonin. And the 7 people have not acted together for a long time. The combination of the 7 swords and the effect of the staggered attack is unknown to everyone. This battle is not simple. With a heavy heart, the 24 ninjas walked out of the tent and returned to their camp. It was unknown how many ninjas had a sleepless night. Nangongja was the same. This is the first time that Nangongja faced such a famous ninja. Even Nangongja was responsible for the lives of 2 other taijutsu ninjas and the chunin who was about to be assigned to his name. Nangongja's eyes were wide open with a hint of excitement as he looked at the distant horizon that was slowly turning white. Chapter 25. Today's rain is really heavy. Nangongja looked around and said to the ninjutsu team leader Sato and general operation team leader Murashita. Yes, although the ninjutsu team is mostly made up of water release and lightning release ninjas. But this kind of environment is a great hindrance for every woodleaf ninja. When Sato saw this scene, he couldn't help but feel a little worried. There's nothing we can do about it. The enemy has been living in this kind of climate for a long time, and they are much better than us. This rain is a test for our vision and movement, and these are all advantages for us. Nangongja said helplessly. Konoha had a lot of discomfort in fighting in this kind of environment. Okay, let's stop. Sato stretched out his hand and signaled the troops to stop moving forward. The ninjas behind immediately stopped and waited for instructions. From here, we are out of woodleaf territory and entering the war zone. Everyone, start paying attention. After Sato's reminder, there was no response. Instead, there was the sound of ninja preparing ninja tools. Considering that the enemy has a total of 7 Tokubetsu Jonin strength, Nangongja, Sato Jonin, and Murashita Jonin plan to form a 3-layer defense circle with these 15 chunins and 9 jonins. 15 chunins were responsible for patrolling outside. 6 jonins were behind to support all sides and put out the fire when something special happened. Nangongja and the other 2 jonins were in the innermost layer, responsible for command. Amidst the torrential rain, a crisp mechanical sound rang out quietly. Trap! Trap! The chunins on the periphery suddenly called for help. Many shurikens, kunai, senbon, and other hidden weapons were shot from all directions. Ninjutsu ninja ready. Water release, water wall. Release. In order to block the hidden weapons coming from all directions, Sato ordered to release ninjutsu. Walls of water began to appear around the formation to block the hidden weapons. Wait. Quickly remove the water wall. Nangongja's blood suddenly surged. He subconsciously felt that releasing the water formation wall would cause very dangerous consequences. Withdraw. Sato didn't ask anything because the sixth sense was more meaningful than the answer on the battlefield. Many ninjutsu ninjas began to remove the water wall at the same time. A rough voice suddenly sounded. Woodleaf ninjas really don't learn from their mistakes. Using water release against our mist ninjas? What a joke. Water release, water explosion shockwave. The originally scattered water wall was suddenly injected with a large amount of chakra, and more water was gathered together, forming a constantly expanding ring, surrounding Konoha's ninjas inside. No one wants to step on the water, because the water around them is infused with chakra. Do you want to step on the water? It was as if he had stepped into a quagmire and had no chance of survival. The gap in the middle of the ring was getting smaller and smaller, and eventually, all of Konoha's ninjas were sucked into it. Let this uncle teach you a lesson. A short, slightly plump figure with a strange camouflage painted on his face appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The seven swords of the mist, the wielder of the shark bone, Watermelon Mountain's Fugu? Water release, water shark bullets. Watermelon Mountain's Fugu quickly formed hand seals, and his chubby hands pressed on the water's surface, forming a water shark bullet. A huge shark opened its mouth and attacked the Woodleaf ninjas. Some of the weaker Chunin were instantly crushed into blood foam by the strong water pressure generated by the shark's big mouth. The blood was injected into the sharks, and each of the water shark bullets turned blood red. Nangongja looked at Watermelon Mountain's Fugu, who had been pressing his hands on the water, and realized that this ninjutsu must be in contact with the water. He took the black sword and cut his left shoulder, and the blood mixed into the water. It seemed that all the blood was attracted by something, and all the blood gathered to the lion head seal on his left shoulder. Ryo! Come out! Nangongja shouted silently in his heart. In an instant, thick dark clouds appeared above the water. A huge black lion with a golden mane poked out of the clouds. A sharp claw with golden flames clawed at Watermelon Mountain's Fugu. Watermelon Mountain's Fugu could only let his ninjutsu disappear and quickly retreated. The chakra in the water disappeared, and the Woodleaf ninjas quickly jumped out of the water and stood on the water's surface, waiting for the seven swords to attack again. Nangongja didn't have chakra to use, so he stood on Ryo's head. Found them. Including Watermelon Mountain's Fugu, there are a total of 4 ninjas running towards us. According to their ninjutsu, they are Kurosawa, Hozuki Mangetsu, and Shinhachi. There are still 3 people missing. Nangongja stood high, and naturally, he could detect more information. It was strange that only 4 ninjas appeared, so Nangongja quickly provided information to everyone on the water's surface. Shark skin, tooth, flatfish, and flying foam. They seem to be very strong ninja swords. The ones with beheading katana, dukkha, and needle haven't appeared yet. Fine. There's no time to think so much, everyone get ready. A fierce battle is coming. The General Operation Team Leader Murashita Jounin heard Nangongja's information and analyzed it. He originally wanted to draw some conclusions, but the 4 ninja swords were already approaching, so he could only clear his mind and fight the ninja swords. After the Watermelon Mountain's Fugu's sneak attack, the Woodleaf ninjas also lost some members. Of the 15 Chunins, only 9 were left. Of the 9 Chunins, 2 were seriously injured and couldn't fight anymore. Now, there were only 14 Woodleaf ninjas who could fight. Ah! In just a moment, the 4 ninja swords began to fight with everyone. A thick-backed broadsword with a thick spine opened the way in front, and the explosive tags attached to it exploded from time to time, making Konoha's taijutsu ninjas who were in charge of guerrilla warfare suffer unspeakably. Raiga was at the back of the group of dead people, and he raised his ninja sword high. The thundercloud that was formed to summon Ryan instantly provided Raiga with almost endless thunder support in the water. There were already several ninjas who were paralyzed by the thunder that suddenly appeared in the water, and then killed by Hozuki Mangetsu, who was holding the flatfish. At this moment, the Watermelon Mountain's fugu had changed its appearance. Its body was covered with blue spikes, and its appearance had changed dramatically. It was like the incarnation of a humanoid shark that lurked in the lake under everyone's feet, and rushed to the water's surface to attack when there was an opportunity. The situation was very dangerous. Although Nangongja tried to think in a bad direction, Nangongja never thought that the Mist's 7 ninja swords would be so difficult to deal with and so lethal. Chapter 26. This is really, seeing the situation that everyone was facing, Nangongja felt that it was very tricky. Raiga used his teeth to control the lightning and blocked the sky. Hozuki Mangetsu and Shinhachi were on the ground. They were fighting. Watermelon Mountain's pufferfish was attacking underwater. Almost all the possible places where there might be a breakthrough were strictly guarded. Woodleaf's few remaining jonins were also entangled by Shinhachi, Raiga, and Watermelon Mountain's pufferfish. Hozuki Mangetsu was holding a huge flounder and rushing left and right among the chunin, wantonly killing. A few jonins are fine for the time being, but the chunin are really in danger. Save them first, let them go back to Orochimaru and tell him that 3 ninja swordsmen are missing. Nangongja thought a little and could only come up with such a strategy. Li Yang, protect me, turn into my armor. Brat, let's have a good time killing them. Li Yang responded to Nangongja's call, and his huge body suddenly scattered and turned into a little bit of starlight, attached to Nangongja's body and turned into a black armor. Hozuki Mangetsu noticed the change in Nangongja and looked up. Konoha's jonin, Minamiya Zetsu, is known as Yama. Let me see just how capable this King Yenluo is. He waved the huge flounder in his hand, forcing away several woodleaf chunin beside him, and a burst of chakra surged on the flounder. Show your strength. Flounder. Hozuki Mangetsu waved the flounder in the direction of Nangongja, and the chakra attached to the flounder turned into a curved chakra blade and rushed towards Nangongja. Oh. It's a bit similar to my ability. But why would I want to fight you head-on? Nangongja's black armor was surging with lightning for a while, and he stepped heavily into the void. A wave of air appeared behind Nangongja, and Nangongja also moved forward like an arrow. Looking at the chakra blade that was about to cut him, Nangongja moved sideways and cleverly avoided it. He rushed straight towards Hozuki Mangetsu. As expected of Yama, good courage. Seeing Nangongja forced his chakra blade, Hozuki Mangetsu, he couldn't help but praise him. It's easy to say, but how many ninjas can face the sharp chakra blade head-on and avoid this deadly attack by a hair's breadth? I don't want to be entangled with you, let's end this quickly, and I can support the other chunin and break the situation. Nangongja held the black sword in his hand. The black sword was instantly covered in a layer of icy blue light. The black lightning that wrapped around his body also spread to the sword. Is that so? Seeing Nangongja's black sword stabbing towards him, Hozuki Mangetsu didn't retreat, instead, he directly rushed up and let the black sword stab his body. The huge flounder also attacked Nangongja under Hozuki Mangetsu's wave. Do you think Hozuki clan's Kekii Genkai is a problem for me? Nangongja looked at Hozuki Mangetsu's movement and knew that Hozuki Mangetsu wanted to use his clan's Kekii Genkai to exchange injuries with Nangongja. Hozuki clan's Kekii Genkai was almost immune to all physical damage, and it was almost overwhelming for Nangongja, who was a taijutsu-type ninja. But Nangongja was different. At this time Nangongja's sword carried Li Yang's thunder power. Although Nangongja didn't know the details of Li Yang's strength, but he knew that Hozuki Mangetsu absolutely can't block it. The black sword stabbed into Hozuki Mangetsu's body, but Nangongja didn't feel a trace of pain. Li Yang. I'm counting on you. This kid is really arrogant, let me teach him a good lesson. On the lion relief on the chest armor, the golden eyes suddenly shined brightly. More and more black lightning was produced from the armor and poured into the black sword. Ah! Impossible! I can't guide this lightning into the water. Hozuki Mangetsu screamed, and in a moment, Hozuki Mangetsu's whole body turned into water, and his whole body bulged as if it was boiling. Bang! A huge explosion sounded, and Hozuki Mangetsu was killed. In fact, Hozuki Mangetsu shouldn't have been killed so easily. At least when he found out that Nangongja's black sword had a problem, Hozuki Mangetsu could have turned himself into water and hid in it. At this moment, there was still the watermelon mountain pufferfish in the water, and Nangongja couldn't do anything in this situation. However, Hozuki Mangetsu's mistake was that he underestimated Nangongja's sword, and the lightning wasn't ordinary lightning that could be guided into the water. After Hozuki Mangetsu died, the huge flat-eye flounder instantly turned into a large cloud of smoke and disappeared. It was probably sent back by the mist ninjas. After all, such a weapon couldn't fall into the hands of the enemy, and Nangongja didn't have any ninjas who were proficient in sealing to stop it. Nangongja didn't have time to think so much at this moment, and he just rushed towards Raiga. The three swordsmen were able to entangle so many jonins, mostly relying on Raiga's timely lightning to paralyze the wood-leaf jonins. You. Don't come over. Looking at Nangongja, who had just defeated Hozuki Mangetsu, rushing towards him, Raiga panicked. This wasn't the mist ninjas who had been through a lot, but a fresh batch of swordsmen. Obviously, Hozuki Mangetsu, who was much stronger than him, died, and Raiga didn't have any confidence at this moment. Lightning escape, lightning ball. A ball of lightning struck towards Nangongja, but it didn't have any effect at all. Instead, it was absorbed by Nangongja's black armor. Have you forgotten who summoned these thunderclouds? Nangongja asked jokingly. Raiga certainly knew that these lightning balls couldn't cause any results. But his heart was in a panic, and he could only do this to seek a sense of security. One after another, lightning balls were sent out, but it didn't stop Nangongja's footsteps. No! I don't want to die. Raiga suddenly began to roar. Nangongja looked at his crazy appearance and quickly prepared to fight him in close quarters. Hey! Raiga quickly rushed towards Nangongja, brandishing the two blades in his hands. Just as Nangongja was about to use his gauntlet to block and counterattack, Hey! Raiga quickly turned and fled. This guy, seeing Raiga running away, Nangongja was speechless. But Nangongja wasn't going to chase after him. It was better to break one finger than to injure all 10. He looked at Shinhachi, who was surrounded by several jonins, and smiled, and he also joined the battle. Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish saw that Shinhachi was surrounded and quietly retreated. But before he left, he muttered in his mouth, Raiga is really a coward, but it doesn't matter. He has been entangled for so long, and it's enough. I hope the plan goes well. Chapter 27. In the end, Jinhachi died under the siege of a group of woodleaf ninjas. No matter how strong Jinhachi was, no matter how strong the power of flying foam was, all of this will eventually be submerged in the torrent of people's power. Just like Hozuki Mangetsu's ninja sword after his death, the flying foam also disappeared without a trace in the smoke. I think we have to go back. The escaping Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish and Kurosawa have lost a lot of combat power and are extremely tired. If they dare to attack our army in this situation, they are looking for death. But at the moment, there are still 3 ninja swordsmen whose whereabouts are unknown. The biggest possibility is that they divided into 2 groups and deliberately separated a part of them to delay us. This also explains why the Mist Ninjas, who have always had a tight intelligence, spread the news that the 7 ninja swordsmen were going to attack the Woodleaf army. With Orochimaru-sama's wisdom, he must have thought of this earlier than us. We were just pawns sent to our deaths in the first place. This is also why Orochimaru-sama bowed to us before we left, right? Nangongja suddenly thought of the key points and analyzed to the remaining 4 jonins around him. And Chunin? They have long been reduced to cannon fodder in the melee. The psychological quality of a ninja who can become a jonin is not covered. Although they know that they have been abandoned, they don't have any extreme thoughts. There are always sacrifices in the war, and they can pay a small price to get more results. This kind of behavior is common in the eyes of ninjas. Even if they are the ones who are abandoned. In that case, let's go back and help defend the remaining 3 ninja swordsmen. The jonin immediately gave the order. Several jonins nodded together. They quickly moved towards the woodleaf camp. Bang! A huge cloud of smoke suddenly burst on the way back. It seems that the 3 ninja swordsmen are blocked in that direction. Nangongja understood what was going on for a while. He turned to look at the other 3 ninjas and said, "Everyone, relatively speaking, my movement speed is a little faster. I will rush to support first. Please go as soon as possible." Of course. The 3 jonins nodded again and again. Seeing that they agreed, Nangongja also increased his speed and rushed to the battlefield. In the huge smoke, a figure wearing a green tights rushed out, and at the same time, 3 mist ninjas appeared in the smoke. The woodleaf ninja in the green tights was naturally Mike Day. This ninja. Why don't I have any impression of him? How can such a powerful taijutsu ninja be unknown? Nangongja was confused for a moment. He already knew Woodleaf's famous jonin Nangongja, but this person was too unfamiliar. No, there's something wrong with this person. After careful observation, Nangongja discovered that Mike Dai's entire body was emitting a terrifying red chakra. His eyes were almost completely white, and his muscles and tendons were constantly being torn apart. Forbidden technique. It was an extremely powerful forbidden technique. "Senpai, I'll help you." Nangongja was about to raise his sword, but Mike Dai raised his hand and signaled Nangongja not to come over. "Ha ha ha. Boy. This is the only ninjutsu that I, Woodleaf Ninja Mike Dai, have practiced for more than 20 years, and it's also the last beautiful lotus that I used to bloom. Don't interfere, this is my youth." Although the words were inexplicably Chinibu, Nangongja still stopped. Nangongja was very clear that this forbidden technique had almost destroyed Mike Dai's body to the extreme. Even if he saved him now, Mike Dai's time was running out. Several jonins who were behind Nangongja also arrived. They looked at Mike Dai, who was crushing the 3 sannin in the field, but they were silent for a long time. "He is Mike Dai. He graduated from Woodleaf Ninja with me. When he was in school, because he couldn't use ninjutsu or genjutsu, he could only practice taijutsu and was bullied badly by his classmates. All these years, he was only a genin. But now he can actually suppress 3 sannin. This is really incredible," Sato suddenly said. "It's a forbidden technique. A forbidden technique that burns your life," Nangongja said. "Me. I've always been told that I'm useless." Mike Dai punched. "I've always been a genin." Another kick was sent out. "Even my child can only practice taijutsu like me. But, I'm also a Woodleaf Ninja. I will also fight for Woodleaf. Even if I have to break my arms and legs. Even if I have to pay with my life. I have to prove it. I have to prove to Aakai that his father is a ninja that Woodleaf can be proud of one day." Mike Dai used both his fists and feet, and every punch was accompanied by a shout. This was just an ordinary man, but this was also not an ordinary man. Everything he did was for his child, so that his child could be proud of him, and not be humiliated because of him. Morning Peacock. A huge shadow of a peacock appeared behind Mike Dai's back, and burning fireballs accompanied by punches rushed towards the 3 sannin. The absolute power suppressed the 3 sannin to the point that they couldn't do anything. Daytime Tiger. Mike Dai punched out, and the air turned into a tiger shape rushing towards the Sannin. Evening. Elephant. Blood dyed the sky red, just like Mike Dai now, emitting the last dazzling light. A huge hole appeared on the ground, and the 3 Sannin were all in it. They died without an intact body, and turned into wisps of blood foam mixed into the soil. But the Woodleaf ninjas didn't care about the Sannin. Instead, they rushed towards Mike Dai one by one. Die! Die! Sato hugged Mike Dai with tears in his eyes, and shouted sadly. Oh! It's Sato. Mike Dai was very happy to see an acquaintance with a smile on his face. But his face was bloodless and his body was soft. His muscles and bones had long been shattered under the destruction of the forbidden technique. It's me. It's me. Dai, you must hold on. We dare to go to the Middle Army. Find Orochimaru-sama. Find Tsunade-sama. We must go back. Sato looked at Mike Dai's slightly recovered state and immediately carried Mike Dai back to the treatment room. No. Sato. Mike Dai opened his mouth to stop him. I know my own situation very well. This is also my own choice. But I still have a favor to ask of you, Sato. You said, if you see a Kai, remember to tell him that his dad is so handsome today. Kai said as he tried his best to give a thumbs up with his right hand. However, before he could do that, this strong and stubborn life disappeared. I know. I know. Sato grabbed Mike Dai's hand that was frozen in the air, and tears couldn't stop falling. Chapter 28. Mike Dai died just like that. Sato's body was brought back to the camp. No one spoke along the way. There was no joy of completing the mission. Because in order to complete the mission, the entire team suffered too much damage. 21 lives, including Mike Dai, were lost forever. This is a ninja, whether it's victory or defeat, it's paved with blood and lives. Orochimaru looked at the people who came back, asked a little about the situation and left. The indifference that seeped into his bones made people's hearts turn cold. About half a month later, the 3 countries that were fighting Woodleaf all proposed to surrender and negotiate peace. After that, the top leaders of Woodleaf and the Fire Country's government decided to divide the interests of the other 3 countries and so on. She no longer had anything to do with Nangongja, who had no status. Nangongja just followed the army back to Woodleaf. A lot of people gathered at the gate of Woodleaf, including children and women. They were looking forward to the return of their families. But most of them only got an urn, and many of them didn't even get an urn. They only got a letter from their family. Nangong Ro was also in the crowd, worried and uneasy, afraid that she would get the same bad news as many people around her. Enai-san. Enai-san, you must come back safely. The Rock's ninjas were the first to enter Konoha's village. There was almost no meat grinder in the Rock ninjas' battlefield, everything went smoothly, so everyone was basically full of energy. But the eyes of the team that lost their comrades were full of tears, moving forward silently. Among them was Kakashi, who had lost his father and his best friend. His eyes were somewhat empty, and he now only had one eye. Several Uchiha ninjas were tightly staring at Kakashi. After the Rock ninjas completely entered, they took Kakashi away without paying attention to the eyes of the crowd. Watergate saw Kakashi being taken away and followed. Presumably it was because of the Sharingan. After that, it was the Sand Ninjas. The Sand Ninjas should have lost a lot of people. But Tsunade was the commander. Most of the medical ninjas trained by Tsunade also followed her to the sand battlefield, so the ninja casualties were not very high. The higher-ups of the ninja village must have seen such a result and made up their minds to develop the training of medical ninjas. However, the few people who knew Tsunade's plan looked bitter. Woodleaf's Princess Ji's medical ninjutsu level was so high that it was simply unheard of since ancient times. After she left, Woodleaf's medical ninjutsu could be considered to have fallen. However, the higher-ups should have reached an agreement with Tsunade. Tsunade will at least leave a training plan to assist Woodleaf in training medical ninjas. The last ones to enter were the Mist Ninjas, who had suffered the most casualties. The blood mist also caused great pain to the Woodleaf. Compared to the time of the expedition, the number of people in the entire army was reduced by almost half, and those who returned alive were almost all injured. Disabled ninjas with missing arms and legs account for a large proportion of them. The cheers of the two troops when they entered the village instantly stopped. Only sorrowful cries could be heard. "Dad! Dad!" The young Kai rushed to the front of the procession and wept bitterly to Sato Kami, one of his father's few friends. "You are Guy." Nangongja walked to Guy's side and said, "Your father is a great ninja. In the end, he was so handsome. He will be the one we will remember for the rest of our lives. He is the hero of Woodleaf." "I know. I know. My dad will be so handsome in the end." Guy's tears and snot were still hanging on his face, but he desperately squeezed out a bright smile and gave Nangongja a thumbs up. "If you don't mind, I am also a taijutsu ninja. I can help you train. You can find me later." Nangongja saw Guy's appearance and his heart throbbed. He unconsciously made a promise. "Guy, promise him. This person is very powerful, and he earned the title of Yama on the battlefield. I'm sure he can teach you." Sato said. "Yes. I will definitely become a great ninja and make Dad proud of me." Guy turned to Nangongja and bowed deeply, "Sensei." "Okay, then I will be your sensei. Go back. I will look for you later." Nangongja replied softly and comforted Kai to go back. "Yes. Sensei." Guy turned and left, but Nangongja seemed to hear Guy's cries. The cries didn't disappear, but became louder and louder in Nangongja's ears and in Nangongja's mind. All the troops were assembled, and Sandame also gave a speech. Nangongja didn't listen to a single word. He just kept silent. "Oniai-san." Nangongja went home after finishing a bunch of trivial matters. Nangong-ro came up and hugged Nangongja. "Oniai-san. I was so scared every day when you were gone. I was scared that an umbu would suddenly come to my house and send me letters that I didn't want to see. People have been receiving these letters for the past few days. Many of my classmates have also lost their loved ones. I was so scared, so scared." Nangong-ro cried loudly. Nangongja even felt that his chest was wet from Nangong-ro's tears. "Ro-ro." Nangongja rubbed his sister's head and said, "I'm back." Nangong-ro raised her head and looked at Nangongja's face. "Welcome back. Oniai-san." Nangongja slept at home for a long time, and when he woke up, he found that he had slept for 2 days and 2 nights. He could only make use of the time to put on a morning robe and walk to the Woodleaf's memorial tablet with his sister. He reached out his hand and caressed the cold names on it. White Fang Senpai, Mike Senpai, and the many ninjas who fought with me. Although your bodies have disappeared, your appearance and your persistence are still remembered by us who are still alive. You have never disappeared. Heroes never disappear, it's just that their bodies rot. May your spirits in heaven bless the Woodleaf. May you have the opportunity to be born into a stable generation and live an ordinary life. Nangongja said and couldn't hold back the tears in his eyes. His legs went soft and he sat in front of the memorial tablet. He cried and wailed. Nangong-ro looked at Nangongja and just silently walked forward and hugged Nangongja's trembling body. The heroes fell into eternal sleep. But will this ninja world really be peaceful because of their blood and sacrifice? No one knew. Everyone was just working hard and looking forward to it. Perhaps one day, there would really be someone who could turn the tide and save the entire world. It's just that these people will never be seen again. Chapter 29. This year, Nangongzhe was 14 years old. He experienced exile, settling down, and the Third Shinobi World War. Even if his experiences continued to accumulate, the souls and blood in his hands continued to deepen. But it still couldn't change the fact that Nangongzhe was still a teenager. Some things can't be changed by age. Therefore, Nangongzhe cried and wailed in front of the Soul Consolation Monument. Finally, Nangongzhe was tired of crying, and he didn't want to cry anymore. He stretched out his hand to wipe the remaining tears from the corners of his eyes and stood up. He looked at his sister who had been hugging him. "I made you worry. I don't know why, but my heart suddenly collapsed." "No." Nangongzhe also stood up and looked at Nangongzhe. "I know what Oni-san is facing. So many familiar faces have disappeared, including White Fang, senpai who helped us a lot. If Oni-san really doesn't have any emotional fluctuations, then something is wrong." Nangongzhe stood in front of Nangongzhe, stood on tiptoe, hugged Nangongzhe's head, and slowly stroked it. "With Ruru here, Oni-san doesn't need to pretend or suppress. You just have to be yourself." Nangongzhe never thought that his sister would say such words. In his impression, although his sister was sensible, sometimes she was very willful, just like a child who hadn't grown up. But at this moment, Nangongzhe made Nangongzhe feel that she had grown up. "I'm sure you've been through a lot while I was gone, right?" Nangongzhe didn't say anything. He stretched out his hand and took Nangongzhe's hand, and walked to the residence. After a few days, Sato took Guy to Nangongzhe's house. "Hello, Sato Jounin, and Guy." Seeing the two standing at the door, Nangongzhe quickly greeted them. "Xiao Ro, prepare some refreshments. We have guests." Nangongzhe shouted. After hearing Nangongzhe's response, he led the two of them to the living room. "Sato, did you bring Kai here because of what I promised you before?" Nangongzhe remembered that he had promised Kai to teach him physical skills when he returned to the village. He immediately understood why the two of them had come together. "Big brother, who are these two?" Before Sato could say anything, Nangongzhe came out of the inner hall with a tea tray. There was a pot of tea, a few teacups, and a few plates of pastries. "Ah. Speaking of which, I haven't introduced him to you yet. This is Jonin Sato, a senpai who fought alongside me." "Hello, Jonin Sato." Nangongzhe bowed slightly. "As for this one, she is the child of someone I admire. His father didn't come back, so I promised to teach him physical skills. His name is Michael Kai." Nangongzhe turned around and looked at Kai. "Hello Kai-kun." Although Nangongzhe was a little speechless, she didn't say anything. She still smiled sweetly and said hello to Kai. "Just call me Guy." Guy seemed to be shy and hurriedly said, "Then you guys talk, I'm going to tidy up the house." Nangongzhe felt that she couldn't talk to them anymore, so she left. "Let's continue, Jonin Sato." Nangongzhe saw his sister leave, so he talked to Sato about what happened just now. "Yes, we did come to let Nangong teach Guy." Sato told Nangongzhe the reason for his visit. "I will definitely teach Guy, after all, I promised him. I'm going to take a long vacation in a few days, so I hope I can take Guy with me. But I don't know if Guy's instructor will agree." Nangongzhe expressed his doubts with a bit of embarrassment on his face. Woodleaf's instructor has a lot of control over the genin. And teaching someone else's student without the instructor's permission is very hateful. So Nangongzhe has to be cautious. That's not a problem. Hearing Nangong Zetsu's doubts, Sato suddenly smiled. After this great shinobi war, Konoha reorganized the genin squads because of the severe losses. Most of the teams have changed their instructors. Now I'm Guy's instructor, so if you want to train Guy, you can arrange it. That's fine. When I'm ready to leave, I'll inform Guy. Good. After a few words, Guy and Sato left. Seeing them leave, Nangong-ro walked to Nangong's side. Oni-san, are you sure you want to be Guy's teacher? Some of our secret techniques can't be taught. Before Nangong-ro finished her words, Nangongja interrupted her. Don't worry, Oni-san knows what to do. Guy's father is a great ninja and a great father. I just promised to help him train, not to accept him as an apprentice. Don't worry. Oni-san, it's good that you know what to do. Nangong-ro nodded, and then said, Oni-san, did you just say that you want to go out of the village to train? Yeah. What's wrong? Nangongja was a little confused. Can you take me with you? Nangong-ro looked at Nangongja with hope in her eyes. Maybe you can't go with me. I'm mainly training strength and endurance. If it's technical training, it may be useful for a ninjutsu ninja like you, but if it's purely physical training, you can't do it for the time being. Guy can do it? Nangong-ro looked puzzled. Guy's family has a problem with their physique, they can't practice ninjutsu or genjutsu. So Guy has been training taijutsu since he can remember. His physical foundation is extremely solid, and he has reached the level of training with me. Now he only lacks skills and the accumulation of time. Since Oni-san said so, then I won't go. Nangong-ro was also a reasonable girl. And the ninja school is about to start. Although Nangong-ro can ask for leave to train, it is better to have a solid foundation in the ninja school. By the way, Oni-san, do you remember Yabuki-san from the clothing store? Of course, what's wrong? It seems that Yabuki-san is going to get married in a few days with a Chunin surnamed Haruno. Is that so? Then let's go and congratulate her. After all, Yabuki took care of us when we first came to Woodleaf. Then should we take a stroll on the streets and find some gifts to send over? Nangong-ro's eyes flashed with a hint of craftiness. Let's go. Knowing that his sister wanted to go shopping with him, Nangongja didn't say much and agreed. The moon was bright, and the lights were on. The bustling commercial street seemed to be isolated from the pain caused by the war. The two strolled for a long time, bought a lot of things, and went home. Chapter 30. The next day, Nangongja and Nangong-ro went out early to help out at Mahabaki's house. The two of them were very familiar with Mahabaki, so they were considered her family. Ah! Nangong-jun and Mayo-chan are both here? Seeing that Nangongja and Nangong-ro were both here, Mahabaki was very happy. Yabuki-san, congratulations on your marriage. Mahabaki, congratulations on your marriage. The two of them congratulated Mahabaki at the same time. Thank you, it's my fortune to meet Haruno-kun. Haruno-kun was injured on the battlefield, so he'll be teaching at Woodleaf from now on. Maybe he'll even become your teacher. Is that so? That's great. I'll be going out to train for a while, so I won't be able to take Ruru with me. Since Haruno-kun is a teacher at Woodleaf School, please take care of him for me. Of course, I also see Mayo-chan as a sister. Ah. That's right. Nangongja took out a beautiful gift box from behind him. This is a gift from me and Ruru. Can I open it? Mahabaki took the gift box with a happy expression. Of course, it was originally a gift for you. Nangongja said with a smile. Then I won't be polite. Mahabaki opened the gift box, revealing a beautiful hairpin decorated with cherry blossoms. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Of course not, Mahabaki, you took care of us when we first came to Woodleaf, so it's only right that we give you this gift. After a while, the groom, Chunin Haruno, also came out to greet Nangong and Ruru. Nangongja carefully observed him and found that he still didn't have any impression of this Haruno-kun. Perhaps he was the most ordinary Chunin? This Chunin Haruno seemed to have suffered some damage to his meridians, so he casually retired and came to the ninja school to teach. But it was good. If Mahabaki married a powerful teacher, then it would be torturous for her to live in fear every day. On the day of the wedding, Nangongzhe and his sister had a lot of fun. But happiness was always short-lived. Nangongzhe finally applied for a training vacation, which was half a year. After notifying Guy, the two went to Woodleaf School together. Since Nangongro was in school today, Nangongzhe did not ask his sister to send him off. After all, he was just going out. Guy, have you been doing weight training? Nangongzhe and Kai were chatting on the way. Sensei. Now. Kai said to Nangongzhe excitedly, 200 pounds. Nangongzhe looked at Guy's relaxed appearance. Increase the weight tomorrow to 300 pounds. When you feel you're used to it, continue to increase. Yes, sensei. Guy replied, but, sensei, what about you? How much weight are you carrying? Sensei didn't use lead or anything like that to carry the weight. Nangongzhe shook his head. I used the earth release, heavy rock talisman. Every day, I injected internal force and adjusted the gravity to carry the weight. Now, it's about 3 times the gravity, right? 3 times? Guy was dumbfounded. Forget it. I knew you wouldn't understand. Nangongzhe knew that he couldn't explain it to Guy, so he took out a few talismans from the lining of his clothes and put them in Guy's hand. Stick them on your jacket. These should be about 1.5 times the gravity. Oh, after taking the talismans, Guy stuck the talismans on the inside of his clothes. With a thud, Kai's whole body fell to the ground. This is 1.5 times. Guy said with difficulty. When Nangongzhe saw Guy like this, he reached into Guy's clothes and tore off the talismans. For the time being, it's better for you not to carry the weight. Continue to use the compressed lead to carry the weight. When your physical strength grows in the future, I'll ask someone to make a few talismans for you. Thank you, Sensei Nangong. Sure enough, only this kind of life is youthful. Guy gave a thumbs up, revealing a bright white fang. Behind him, there seemed to be waves hitting a boulder. Nangongzhe looked at this scene and couldn't help but regret. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse to let such a person train with me. Guy and Nangongzhe finally arrived at the first training location selected by Nangongzhe, Woodleaf Waterfall, which was the huge waterfall in the Valley of the End. Looking at the huge water flowing down, Guy was dumbfounded. Sensei Nangong, are we going to train under such a waterfall? Guess. Nangongzhe smiled naughtily. It can't really be here. If this is Sensei's choice, then I'll do it. Guy began to get hot-blooded again. Nangongzhe hit Guy's head with a karate chop. Are you an idiot? This is where I cultivate. Can you still find anyone there? Nangongzhe pointed to a much smaller waterfall and said, this is your training place. Go, today, no matter if it's eating, sleeping, or training, you have to do it under this waterfall. If you get washed down, you have to train for an extra hour. Understood, Sensei. Looking at Guy excitedly walking towards his waterfall, Nangongzhe began to tidy up his clothes, put on his jacket and shoes, and took the black sword to the bottom of the waterfall. The huge impact swept Nangongzhe's body. The black sword almost flew out of his hand. And he was about to lose his balance. Hold on. Change the center of gravity. Maintain the balance. After a long time, under the guidance of Li Yang's voice, Nangongzhe was finally able to stand firmly under the waterfall. Nangongzhe tried to swing his sword. The power of the waterfall poured onto the sword, bringing great pressure to Nangongzhe's wrist. Hack, stab, flick, wipe, chop. A few basic sword techniques were demonstrated by Nangongzhe one by one. Slowly, Nangongzhe's speed became faster and faster. The basic sword techniques also slowly changed to the fatal 13 swords that his sister gave him. As time passed, Nangongzhe's body was tired and his mind was tense. Finally, Nangongzhe slipped and fell into the river. Fortunately, Guy noticed the abnormality and pulled Nangongzhe out. Otherwise, his life would have been in danger. After Nangongzhe woke up, he ignored his fatigue and walked to the bottom of the waterfall. Nangongzhe was forcing himself to break through his limits. Not only was it a physical limit, but it was also a mental limit. Guy looked at Nangongzhe's crazy appearance and his heart was moved. He also started to practice crazily. Both of them were exhausted after every training session, but neither of them complained. They just worked hard to practice. Chapter 31. On this day, Nangongzhe was still practicing his swordsmanship under the waterfall. This was Nangongzhe's second month of practicing swordsmanship under the waterfall. Every time Nangongzhe practiced swordsmanship, he relied purely on his physical strength and did not use his internal strength. This helped Nangongzhe to better control the application of his strength. In these 2 months, Nangongzhe had completely mastered the fatal 13 swords and integrated it into every move he performed. Although he had lost the form, he understood its meaning. It was incomparably sharp, and the sword could not be retracted. This so-called fatal 13 swords, every sword was a sword that took a life. If it was not the life of the opponent, then it would be worth it to pay with one's own life. Nangongzhe's purpose of practicing swordsmanship under the waterfall was to train his speed, strength, and stability. To ensure that every sword was delivered with the most appropriate strength, it would save energy and increase his ability to fight continuously. Today was the day Nangongzhe decided to leave the waterfall and head to the next training location. Nangongzhe's training plan for Akai was basically completed, and his own strength training had reached a bottleneck. If he wanted to break through, he would need more accumulation and opportunity. Today, Nangongzhe was prepared to use his internal strength to fight against the power of the natural waterfall. Kai, it's good that you're here. Don't get too close. Nangongzhe brought Kai a little further away, enough to see the waterfall without being accidentally injured. Seeing that the waterfall was 300 to 400 meters away, Kai was stunned. Was his teacher so strong that he could affect so far away? Kai, you should know. Fighting with the heavens is endless fun. Fighting with the earth is endless fun. Fighting with people is endless fun. In this life, I don't care about fighting. If you can truly master this word and put it into practice in your own life, you will be able to understand it. I believe you will benefit a lot. Today, teacher, let's fight this earth waterfall first. Nangongzhe held his sword and went to the waterfall. This time, Nangongzhe did not suppress his inner strength. Instead, he allowed it to spread out. This was one of the rare times when Nangongzhe pushed his inner strength to the limit. Vigorous internal energy flowed around his body, like blue fire lotuses burning. The surrounding water vapor and water droplets were forced to stay away by the surging inner energy. Nangongzhe's black clothes were not stained by even a single drop of water. The black sword seemed to be encouraged by its master's current demeanor. It clanged and trembled slightly. A faint blue halo instantly covered the sword. Unlike before, his inner strength was not contained and not released. Instead, it went in the opposite direction, constantly surging, steaming and releasing his own power. The long sword was like a coat of fire. Every time it was swung, it left a faint mark in the air. Waterfall, waterfall, you and I have been together for so long. It is time for me to show you my power. I've lost a lot of face after being beaten into the water by you time and time again. Today, let me use all my strength to kill you. Nangongzhe's eyes suddenly sharpened. The vigorous sword energy seemed to be shooting out from his eyes. Nangongzhi was now a long sword. After being hammered by the waterfall, it was finally washed clean and sharp. As long as he was willing, he could even slash the sky. Every move of the sword energy surged. Every time he swung his sword, there was no return. At the bottom of the waterfall, Nangongzhi used all the power he could to use this sword technique. The gushing water turned into puffs of water mist and dissipated in all directions. Finally, the sword moves accumulated one after another until they reached the peak of their power. Slash! Nangongzhi did not say anything. He only used his heart to slash. A huge amount of inner strength gushed out from the direction of the sword. The huge waterfall was instantly divided into two parts. Even the part of the waterfall near Nangongzhi followed the sword energy and went against the flow, straight into the sky. This guy looked at this scene and was shocked speechless. Although he knew that his sensei was very powerful and was once regarded as the successor of Woodleaf White Fang, he did not expect that pure taijutsu would be so strong. One had to know that although White Fang was strong, he was strong in assassination. A real head-on fight is extremely disadvantageous for a ninja who is proficient in taijutsu. The enemy's ninjutsu attack is very long range and the power is also very strong. But what about a taijutsu ninja? It's just a punch, a kick, or an extra weapon. Even if it's the longest weapon, how can it have a longer range than a ninjutsu attack? So most of the time, taijutsu ninjas are used as meat shields to entangle strong opponents. Among the famous ninjas in the ninja world, there are almost no taijutsu ninjas. Even Reikage is proficient in taijutsu, which is the combination of ninjutsu and taijutsu. So Nangongzhi's performance at this moment made Guy more confident about the development of his taijutsu in the future. Because even if it's only taijutsu, a taijutsu ninja can be very strong. Not to mention that Guy's father left him an extremely strong forbidden technique, Hashiman Tanku. Nangongzhi was also very happy when he saw the scene that he had created, because these 2 months had not been wasted. The internal force in his body can finally be condensed like a blade. His internal force has reached the next level, and he can really compete with those elite ninjas. Leaving the waterfall, he went to Guy who was blasted with water on his face. How is it? What do you think? Look, I split the waterfall. It's really incredible. A taijutsu ninja can be so strong. That's natural. No matter what kind of path it is, as long as you can persevere and firmly go down, you will not be disappointed in the end. Guy, you and I are actually about the same age, we are young. Young people should have the hot-bloodedness and arrogance that young people should have. Only in this way can you not waste time. You and I still have a lot of time. This is our capital, we must not waste it easily. We should go all out, temper ourselves, and make ourselves stronger. Youth. Hot-bloodedness. I, Guy, will listen to Sensei's teachings. Good. Let's do 500 frog jumps first. Guy turned around and went to frog jump. Nangongzhi was very clear about Guy's character, after all, they have been together for a long time. Nangongzhi said those words on purpose. Because Guy is really talented and hardworking. But what a taijutsu ninja needs is not hard work, but desperation. Only by desperately breaking through your own limits can you make long-term progress. This is Nangongzhi's view of taijutsu ninja. If the attack range is not enough, then I rely on speed to make up for it. If the power is not enough, then I temper my strength to the extreme. As long as there is a way to make up for it, even if it is difficult, it is meaningful. Chapter 32. In the blink of an eye, I'm going to graduate from the Ninja Academy? Nangongzhi looked at the falling cherry blossoms outside the window and felt an inexplicable feeling in her heart. Her brother said that he was going out to train, but he didn't take her with him. At first, he said that he was going to train for half a year and would come back after half a year. But it was delayed again and again. It's been almost a year now, right? Although they often wrote letters, Nangong Ro really hoped that her brother could come back and witness the scene of her officially becoming a ninja. But she still didn't receive any news from her brother. She didn't know if her brother could come back in time, or if he wouldn't come back. On the podium, her homeroom teacher, Haruno Chunin, who was also Machi's husband, was announcing the class allocation of each student. Nangong Ro. Haruno Chunin finally called out Nangong Ro's name. Yes. Nangong Ro raised her right hand. Nangong Ro, because you signed up for the medical ninja sequence, you won't be assigned to any other team, but will be an intern at Kiba Hospital. Nangong Ro's instructor will be specially assigned and will come to pick you up later. Haruno Chunin said. That's right, Nangong Ro specially applied for the medical ninja sequence of Woodleaf Medical Ninja Experiments. Every medical ninja who signed up won't be assigned to a ninja squad, but all of them will be put into Kiba Hospital for professional training. In terms of combat power, there will be special ninjas to train them. Nangong Ro didn't have a lot of chakra, so she didn't have much potential to develop on the path of ninjutsu. And her physical fitness wasn't very good either. So she could only be a medical ninja or a genjutsu ninja who specializes in spiritual power. The most popular medical ninja mode in the ninja world is a combination of genjutsu and medical ninjutsu. While forming combat power, it also takes into account the high spiritual power requirement of medical ninjutsu. Yes. In fact, Nangong Ro already knew that she would make such an arrangement. After all, she was very familiar with Yabuki-san. If Chunin Haruno knew about it, wouldn't that mean that Nangong Ro also knew about it? Speaking of sprouts, he had to mention it. After Yabuki-san and Haruno Chunin got married, she got pregnant very quickly. Forget it, it would only be a few days before she gives birth. Nangong Ro might have to take care of Yabuki for a few days while she was studying in Kiba Hospital. Good. The teacher finished explaining the grouping of the class. Everyone was a group of ninjas after the Shinobi World War. They were the new blood of Woodleaf Village. I hope that no matter what happens, everyone can work hard to improve themselves and protect their own lives. To become a qualified and excellent ninja. Chunin Haruno bowed deeply. The whole class was originally mischievous, but now all the children were crying and clapping with tears and snot on their faces as they watched Haruno Chunin walk out of the classroom. After that, the teams were taken away one by one. Nangong Ro looked at the people who were taken away and didn't think much about it. There weren't many people who chose to become medical ninjas, not to mention that she applied to be a full-time medical ninja. There was almost no combat power. Such an existence sounded good, but almost no parents would allow their children to go in such a direction. There was no other reason, it was too easy to die. Medical ninjas were always the first to be attacked in a battle. His battle prowess was also shockingly low. Why was Tsunade so famous in the shinobi world? Was there really no medical ninja more talented and excellent than Tsunade? There was no doubt that there was, but these medical ninjas were drowned in the history of the shinobi world. Because they weren't strong enough, they were fragile instruments destined to be abandoned after their value was squeezed out. A medical ninja who understood the hidden dangers of your body, as well as various drug resistance and medication status. It was like holding a ninja's life, and no ninja would allow such a threat to exist. Therefore, only Tsunade could be famous. Because before everyone praises her as a great medical ninja, everyone will always remember her as Konoha's super strength Heim, such a name that relied on strength to fight for her. Time flew by, and after a while. When Nangong Ro regained her senses, she was the only one left in the classroom. A breeze blew, and a few cherry blossom petals fell on Nangong Ro's long black hair, but Nangong Ro still didn't know. A pair of hands appeared on Nangong Ro's black hair, and a few petals were flicked off for her. You You've obviously grown up, but you still don't pay attention to your image at all. I haven't seen you for a year, but you haven't grown much, Ruru. Hearing the familiar voice, Nangong Ro slowly put the kunai in her right hand into the backpack behind her waist. Oni-san? Nangong Ro was surprised at first, but then she stretched out her hands and fiercely pinched Nangong's ears. You still know to come back? You've been out with Guy for so long, and you still know that I'm at Woodleaf? Ouch! Nangong Ro's strength was beyond Nangong's expectations. It was simply too much, and Nangong could only cry out in pain. Seeing Nangong like this, Nangong Ro's heart suddenly softened. What's wrong? Did I hurt you? Oni-san. Nangong suddenly had a sneaky smile on his face. How could I? Right. Being pinched by my beautiful sister, there aren't many people in the ninja school who have this kind of treatment. It's okay, we can pinch if we want. Let those little brats see that the cold princess in their eyes is just a cute little girl here. Although Nangong hadn't been at Woodleaf for a long time, he still had a lot of news about Woodleaf. Perhaps Nangong Ro didn't like to play with these kids who were younger than her by 1 or 2 years. She was also quite pretty, so there were a lot of suitors. Nangong Ro didn't have any reason to. That's why she got the strange nickname of Woodleaf's Ice Princess. Hearing Nangong mention such a shameful thing, Nangong Ro knew that Nangong must also know about that strange nickname. She also turned her head angrily and ignored Nangong. Okay, Nangong rubbed his sister's head and said, let's talk about business. Woodleaf Genin Nangong Ro was assigned to Kiba Hospital, and her instructor is Nangong. You don't have to wait, we can go. Oni-san is going to be my instructor? Nangong Ro was surprised. Yes, but I'm only responsible for teaching you some self-defense techniques. The specific medical ninjutsu will be taught by a Woodleaf doctor. Nangong nodded. Why aren't we going? You haven't been back for so long. Oni-san is missing my family's food. Oni-san is a big glutton. Nangong Ro suddenly smiled sweetly, bent her finger and scratched Nangong's nose and quickly ran away. Chapter 33. Nangong hasn't returned to Woodleaf Village for nearly a year. Although Nangong heard about the major events that happened during this period, he still missed them. Among them, Yabuki's marriage, Kakashi's joining of the Umbu, and the succession of the 4th Hokage. Of course, there may be more hidden news, and Nangong will slowly learn about it. Ro, is breakfast ready? Aren't we going to see Yabuki? After Nangong got up and washed, he walked to the living room and didn't see Nangong Ro, so he called out. But for a long time, Nangong didn't see Nangong Ro's response. Looking around, he found a piece of paper on the low table. He picked it up and looked at it. It was Nangong Ro who was called by the people of Kiba Hospital in the morning. He didn't make breakfast, and wrote a note to Nangong to explain. Nangong really didn't know how to cook. Nangong could only go to the street to see if there was a breakfast shop or something. But Nangong left the village for a long time, and he rarely ate outside. Almost all the food was cooked by Nangong Ro. With no choice, Nangong could only walk slowly on the street with an empty stomach. Walking around, he actually slipped to the door of Yabuki's clothing store. Looking at the store that was still open, Nangong thought about it and went in. Yabuki? Nangong tried to call out. Ah! Nangong-jun! Nangong suddenly exclaimed behind him. Nangong looked back. It was Yabuki with a big belly and 2 big plastic bags in her hands. Where's Chunin Haruno? Why did he let you go out to buy things with a big belly so early in the morning? Nangong looked at Yabuki and stepped forward to take the bags in her hands. Seeing that Chunin Haruno wasn't there, he asked. Don't mention it. Isn't that guy a teacher at the ninja school? It's time for the graduates to hand over their files. There are a lot of freshmen who have started to sign up, and he's been busy these days. Anyway, I have nothing to do. It's okay to go out to buy some food or something. Yabuki's words sounded like complaints, but she couldn't hide the smile on her face. Her whole person was exuded a happy radiance. Then, when I see Chunin Haruno, I have to talk to him. Is more important, your wife and daughter? Yabuki said Yabuki's words. Wife, s. Why do you think he is a girl is a daughter? Yabuki looked, I don't know either. I just have this kind of intuition, Yabuki, your child will definitely be a strong and powerful woman like you. When the time comes, if you trust me, I can be the child's master and teach him well. Nangongja said seriously. Although Yabuki wasn't a ninja, Nangongja had been with her for a long time. Although he didn't say anything about Yabuki's strong and powerful personality, he appreciated it very much. That depends on what she wants. If she wants to be a ninja, then I'll leave it to you, Nangongjun. After all, Nangongjun is one of the famous woodleaf ninjas. Yabuki laughed. Ah, right. I forgot about business. Nangongja suddenly slapped his head. What's wrong? Yabuki asked. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. How about it, Yabuki, let me have a meal here. Nangongja rubbed his hands and looked at Yabuki. You. Yabuki reached out and patted Nangongja's head. Let's go. It must be because your sister didn't cook for you. I can guess. Nangongja and Yabuki had such a relationship, just like a pair of siblings. Nangongja was very concerned about this girl who cared about him like an older sister. Yabuki also took care of this young man who was like a younger brother. There were no other strange things mixed in. After eating breakfast at Yabuki's house and chatting with Yabuki about his experiences outside, Nangongja left. After all, Yabuki was close to giving birth, and she still needed to rest. Nangongja left Yabuki's house and didn't go anywhere else. Instead, he went to Kiba Hospital. Nangongro actually came into contact with a certain amount of medical ninja knowledge when she was in ninja school. She also learned some basic things. Therefore, Nangongro began living medical experiments after arriving at Kiba Hospital. The most famous one was waking up fishes that were in suspended animation. Looking at Nangongro's serious face, Nangongja also smiled. Just as Nangongja watched his sister seriously studying, a figure appeared behind Nangongja. Pa! A slap landed on Nangongja's back, making Nangongja stagger. Nangongja was wondering why he suddenly didn't pay attention to his surroundings. When he turned his head, he saw a red-haired figure. Sorry. You are? Nangongja didn't know the person in front of him, so he could only ask. Me? The woman opposite him pointed at her nose and looked at Nangongja with a surprised face. You don't know me? Sorry, I'm not a ninja who lived in Woodleaf since I was young. I joined Woodleaf for only a few years. Most of the time, I was out on missions or training, so I really don't know many people from Woodleaf. Okay. The woman smiled and said frankly, my name is Uzumaki Shinakushina. I'm temporarily in charge of Kiba Hospital. Uzumaki Shinakushina? Nangongja thought about the name and suddenly looked surprised. Woodleaf blood red pepper? Shinakushina slapped Nangongja's head. You're the pepper. Your whole family is pepper. Sorry. Nangongja suddenly remembered that Shinakushina didn't like people calling her this nickname. Nangongja even shouted it out, so he quickly apologized. Then you're Watergate, senpai, 4th Hokage's wife? Shinakushina suddenly blushed. Although almost everyone in Woodleaf knew about her and Watergate, suddenly hearing it from someone else still made Shinakushina shy. After looking at Nangongja, she turned to look at Nangongro. She's your sister? Seeing that Shinakushina started to talk about business, Nangongja also became serious. Yes, she's my sister. What's wrong? Nangongja was a little confused. Today, your sister came here for basic learning, and we found that her spiritual power is very high. This is an excellent condition for learning medical ninjutsu and genjutsu. It's very likely that she will be the next medical ninjutsu after Tsunade-sama in Woodleaf. Shina Kushina said with a serious face. I see, so what's the purpose of you looking for me? You're your sister's instructor, so I hope you won't be soft-hearted. You should be stricter with your sister. People like her are the most likely to die young. I hope you can train her. Let her live a better life. Of course. She's my most precious sister. Chapter 34. After leaving Kiba Hospital, Nangongja returned home. Since Nangongja was Nangong-ro's mentor, he wasn't given many missions, and none of them were far from the wood leaf. Nangongja's days could be said to be leisurely and carefree. However, it wasn't easy either. Nangongja had been haunted by a strange dream recently. Those dreams seemed to be memories of his childhood. There was a father, a mother, and himself, living a very ordinary and simple life. His father worked in the fields, and his mother took care of things at home. Everything was very natural and warm. But what was missing? That's right. His younger sister and the grandfather in his memory were not in his dream. Nangongja didn't say anything to his sister, but he felt very uneasy. An ominous premonition slowly enveloped his entire body. Pa! Nangongja was drinking tea, and the teacup in his hand shattered on the short table. What's wrong? Brother. Nangong-ro saw Nangongja's expression and quickly took a cloth to wipe the boiling hot tea on the table. Even though the boiling hot tea flowed on Nangongja's hands, Nangongja seemed to have turned a deaf ear to it, and he seemed to be in a trance. No. Nothing. Nangongja took the cloth from his sister's hand, wiped his hands carelessly, stood up, and returned to his room. He took out the black sword that never left his side, and looked at it. The irritation in his heart became heavier, and he casually threw the black sword in his hand to the side. Liang, Nangongja said. What's wrong? Liang saw Nangongja ask her, and she stopped silent. You and I have the same soul, so you should have noticed my dreams these few days, right? Nangongja closed his eyes and immersed himself in his own spiritual space, and he saw the huge figure of Liang. You mean those memories? Liang said with some surprise. Memories? Nangongja suddenly felt a sharp pain in his heart. Those are my memories? Yes, those are the memories in the depths of your mind. I don't know why, but your memories seem to be blocked by some kind of power. A large part of your memories are wrapped in it. These days, your cultivation has made great progress in your body and spiritual power, so your spiritual power seems to have begun to attack the power that sealed your memories. Your so-called dreams are actually just a small part of your sealed memories. Li's explanation very casually, she even snorted from time to time. But Nangongja was different. At this moment, Nangongja didn't know how to describe his feelings. He quickly left the spiritual space as if he was running away, and closed his communication with Liang. He hugged his knees and sat in the corner, his body was still trembling. The next day, Nangongja went out early and went to the mission hall to receive a remote escort mission and left the wood leaf. After Nangong-ro woke up, she didn't see Nangongja. Nangongja also had some thoughts in his mind. Is it memories? Other than that, Nangong-ro really couldn't think of any other reason that could force her brother who cared about her to do this. At this moment, Nangong-ro didn't know how to face Nangongja, because the hidden things were not as simple as memories. There were all kinds of things involved, and it might even make Nangongja unable to continue being a woodleaf ninja. Whatever, two people who didn't want to face reality were trying their best to escape. Maybe time will give them a proper attitude to face each other? Or maybe they'll be speechless. Who knew what would happen at this point? When Nangongzhi left the wood leaf, he was in a hurry to receive a mission that would allow him to leave the wood leaf as soon as possible, so he didn't carefully look at the details of the mission. Because most of the escort missions were B-rank or D-rank missions. For Nangongzhi, it wasn't difficult, but Nangongzhi didn't think that he would accept such a troublesome mission. The mission client was an artist, who seemed to be quite famous in the Fire Country. The mission was to escort her to various countries to collect paintings. That's right, it was her, a female artist. Nangongzhi went to a small town near the wood leaf and found his client, Xinghuan's real name. Hello, are you Miss Xinghuan? Although Nangongzhi wasn't in a good mood, a professional ninja couldn't let his bad mood affect his mission, so Nangongzhi still politely knocked on the door of the hotel, wanting to see his client. After a long time, there was no response, so Nangongzhi could only open the door himself, with his own skills. That's right, skills. When he opened the door, he saw his client. When he opened the door, Nangongzhi was stunned, because this room was really, too messy. Too messy. The whole room was filled with all kinds of clothes and bags of snacks. Nangongzhi looked around, but he couldn't find where his employer was hiding. But soon, Nangongzhi was stunned, because of a huge oil painting on the wall in front of him. A blue sky with some purple clouds, a tender green grass, a thin river embedded in the grass, a few horses galloping on the grass, and a child holding a whip standing on a small hill. Nangongzhi had seen similar scenes before, but he had never seen such a beautiful scene. Woo! A soft groan came from under the pile of clothes, and after a while, the whole mountain of clothes was pulled open from the middle, and a girl came out from it. The young girl had a head of brilliant golden hair and deep red eyes. Her delicate and pretty face constantly displayed the charm of a young girl. But her sleepy face and the saliva on the corner of her mouth ruined the picture. Miss Xinghuan? Nangongzhi tried to call out. Woo! The girl rubbed her eyes, and seemed to wake up a little, and asked, Mister, are you a pervert? Why are you in my room so early in the morning? When faced with such a question, Nangongzhi only wanted to say that his sad mood had been fed to the dogs. I'm a woodleaf ninja that you hired to protect you when you go to various countries to gather information. As for being a pervert, please believe in my professional integrity. Woodleaf? Ninja? Seems like there is such a thing. When I first gave you the mission, your people insisted that I pay more, saying that it's too dangerous, and that it's an A-rank mission. No one has accepted it, and it's been almost a month now, right? The girl knocked on her head and tried hard to recall, with an adorable look on her face. Indeed, now was not the best time to travel. Chapter 35. Now is indeed not a good time to travel around the ninja world. It's true that the shinobi war has been over for more than a year. But the impact of the war is indeed far-reaching and lasting. Putting aside all kinds of dirty tricks between countries, just the various kinds of troubles among the people were enough to annoy people to no end. There were countless bandit lairs of various sizes scattered around the borders of large countries and small countries. Nangongzhi carefully observed Mashiro, who was standing in front of him, and found that this girl didn't have any traces of cultivation. In other words, she has no ability to protect herself. Such a silly-looking girl, he didn't know what kind of parents let her carry out such a dangerous plan. So, Shinjo-san, where is our first stop? Nangongzhi didn't want to ask what Mashiro's parents were thinking. Because ninjas and their employers generally don't have too much contact with each other. Nangongzhi has seen more than once that the target of the assassination was his former employer. Ninjas don't need to trust each other, because the next time they meet, their employer's weapon will be on their body. Oh. When Mashiro heard Nangongzhi's question, she suddenly seemed to be stumped and fell into contemplation. So, this girl didn't even decide on the destination, but she already gave him an A-level mission that costs so much money? Nangong's state at the moment was simply Spartan. Nangongja has been a ninja for so long, but this is the first time he encountered such an employer with an unknown purpose. You first pack my things. The girl thought for a long time and finally gave an order. Nangongja was confused. So, this wasn't a delivery mission, but a babysitting mission? Moreover, Nangongja was very embarrassed at the moment, because after Mashiro climbed out of the pile of clothes, there were a lot of women's underwear, including Mashiro, who was only wearing a loose t-shirt. As for the inside? Nangongja didn't see anything. As if she felt Nangongja's gaze, Mashiro looked at Nangongja. What's wrong, are you curious about this place? Mashiro immediately prepared to lift the hem of her t-shirt to let Nangongja see clearly. No, no, no. Not at all. Nangongja hurriedly pulled Mashiro's hand, not letting her lift her clothes. The bold and unrestrained Mashiro, who had clearly wanted to take off her clothes just a moment ago, had her hand grabbed by Seiji, and her face instantly turned red. The flustered Nangongja naturally didn't see this scene. At this moment, he was only hurriedly looking for a suitcase and folding all sorts of girls' clothes in it. What's your name? Seeing Nangongja's busy figure, Mashiro suddenly asked. Me? I'm a woodleaf jonin, my name is Nangongja. Nangongja casually replied. Gong gong? Gong gong? Why don't you call yourself a eunuch? Nangongja ridiculed in his heart, but he didn't say it out loud. You can call me Nangongjun or Jejun, or just Nangongja. Don't you think it's not good to call me Gong Gong? Okay, Gong Gong. I say. Are you listening to anyone at all? No problem, Gong Gong. Nangongja was immediately driven mad. He compromised as well. This girl is really like a nemesis, she doesn't listen to people at all. Suddenly, Nangongja felt a shadow above him, and it fell into his hand. T-shirt? This color, this pattern, this temperature, can't be? Nangongja turned around, sure enough. Mashiro was standing behind Nangongja completely naked. One must know that even if it was his sister, Nangongja had never seen her naked. Now, he actually saw it in this kind of situation. This is really, lucky, ah no, unlucky. Zhen zhen. Zhen zhen zhen. Mashiro? What are you doing? Taking a shower? Do you need to wear clothes when taking a shower? Mashiro answered Nangongja's question with an innocent face, but at this moment, Mashiro was completely exposed in Nangongja's eyes. Yes, that's right, there was no holy light, no smoke, and no mosaic. So. Nangongja unfortunately fainted. Perhaps it was because this scene was too exciting for a pure and innocent young man? When Nangongja woke up again, it was already dusk. He was lying on a soft bed, and when he turned his head, he saw Mashiro lying on the side of the bed, asleep. The sun shone through the window, bringing warmth and gentleness, and sprinkled on Mashiro's long blonde hair. Nangongja was stunned for a moment. However, he couldn't help but think of his own sister, Nangongro. Nangongja had taken care of his sister for so long, and his sister's obedience and quirkiness were things that Nangongja liked. There was no doubt about that. However, if there were other things mixed in, then the impact on Nangongja would be too great. Are you crying? Mashiro opened her eyes and saw that there were 2 lines of tears running down her cheeks as she asked. Nangongja touched his face, and found that there were indeed a few strands of tears. I recently encountered some things. Some things that I should face, but I can't do it. That's why I accepted this mission with a long time limit. I want to calm my heart. Nangongja didn't know why, but when faced with the question of her real name, she really said it out loud. Perhaps this was the magical power of this young girl? She could make people who had a lot on their mind let down their guard and start talking. Unhappy? Why would you be unhappy? Mashiro blinked her eyes. Mashiro feels that everyone should be happy. When your heart is beating, when your breath is continuing, when your eyes can see colors, when your nose can smell fragrance, when your mouth can taste, when your ears can hear every note. At this time, people should be happy. Because you are still alive, all the temporary unhappiness will be washed away by the state of being alive. As long as you are alive, you should feel happy. Mashiro, Nangongja looked at the young girl, and at this moment, his heart was filled with mixed feelings. Nangongja actually couldn't find anything wrong with what this young girl, who he had only known for half a day, said. The world was originally fine, but people worried about nothing. Since his memories were sealed, it meant that there were some things that others didn't want him to know. Although he didn't know if the seal was related to his sister and grandfather, how could his sister's feelings be fake? Why did he have to think so much? He was torturing himself and his sister. Nangongja's mood at this moment was a lot better, and a smile appeared on his face. Gong Gong, you look good when you smile. Chapter 36. Looking at the sky full of sand, Nangongja lifted the scarf on his face. He turned his head and looked at Mashiro with a bitter face. How is it? The legendary land of wind, is it the scene of the Gobi Desert? Nangongja's voice at the moment can be said to be incomparably joking. When Mashiro suddenly proposed to come to the land of wind, Nangongja knew that it was definitely not good. Most of the land of wind is covered by desert, and only a small area has an oasis. However, even the vicinity of the oasis was not so safe, because they still had to face the constant assault of the sandstorm. Back then, when Nangongja fought here, he had suffered enough. The sand ninjas are very familiar with the sandstorm, and their defense is very adequate. Many times, the sand ninjas will start to attack the woodleaf camp during the sandstorm. Originally, the woodleaf ninjas were slightly better, but how can the woodleaf ninjas who can't open their eyes fight against the sand ninjas? Moreover, many of the woodleaf ninjas were directly swept away by the sandstorm. The scene of the sandstorm covering the sky, in Nangongja's eyes, even the most powerful ninjutsu is not a match for it. But from the woodleaf ninjas who are stationed at the border, sometimes there is a more terrible sandstorm in the hinterland of the land of wind. It is said that when the sandstorm passes through, a huge sand mountain will be piled up, and a large layer of the land will be directly shaved off. Therefore, the sand ninjas rely on a huge defensive barrier and a high wall to block the sandstorm. Cough. Mashiro just wanted to speak, but a gust of wind poured sand into her mouth. Bah! How did I know it would be like this? How long will it take to reach the oasis? Now. Nangongja looked at the surrounding environment and the sun covered by the sandstorm. If we hurry, maybe we can reach Kikyo City before sunset. It's a big city where the fire country and the wind country trade. The surrounding scenery is also unique to the wind country. Are you trying to persuade me to hurry up and go somewhere else? When Mashiro heard Nangongja's words, she was instantly unhappy. Her eyes were wide open and her lips were curled up as if she was about to hang an oil bottle. Nangongja looked at Mashiro and walked to Mashiro. Reaching out his hand, he patted the sand on Mashiro's hair and said, "Look at you now, do you look like someone who can bear the hardships of the wind country? Moreover, the desert terrain is changeable, and there are often sandstorms. Not to mention us, even the sand ninjas would get lost if they stayed in the desert for too long. I am the ninja you hired to protect you. I am responsible for your safety." Looking at Nangongja's serious look, Mashiro suddenly stopped talking. She just turned her head to the side and muttered, "Gong Gong is so stingy." What kind of hearing does Nangongja have? Of course, he heard the muttering, but he didn't care. He smiled and put his large cloak on Mashiro's body. "I asked you to pick a coat with a hat, but you said it was too hot. Now you look like you're covered in dust. I gave you my coat, but don't go to Kikyo City. If people see you, they will think that I dug you out from the soil. Humph. Mashiro turned around and looked at Nangongja and said, "Who can dig out such a cute little girl from the soil?" "You said you are cute?" Nangongja looked at Mashiro and was speechless. After reaching the desert, the wind was very strong and there was a lack of water. Therefore, both of them had an unnatural redness on their faces, and all kinds of dead skin appeared. In addition, Nangongja just threw his coat on Mashiro's body, and there were a lot of numbers. Mashiro now looked like a big dumpling. It was hard to associate him with cute and cute. Mashiro looked at Nangongja's expression and then looked at his own body. He walked forward and stepped on Nangongja's foot. Then, he walked away. "What are you doing?" Nangongja cried out in pain. "Didn't you want us to leave quickly?" Mashiro said without turning his head. But what? Hurry up. You went the wrong way." Mashiro turned around and continued walking without any expression. Nangongja looked at Mashiro's direction and was speechless. "It's still the wrong way." Mashiro suddenly walked behind Nangongja and kicked Nangongja's butt. "Then why aren't you leading the way?" Mashiro roared. Okay, follow me." Nangongja could only get up from the sand and prepare to leave. However, Nangongja said, "So. Mashiro, you have no sense of direction?" Mashiro looked at Nangongja. No matter how he looked at this face, it was infuriating. Hence, he kicked Nangongja's face and said, "Go to hell. Bastard." Nangongja never thought that there would be a day when he would be so open with someone. All along, Nangongja had been trying his best to maintain his image. He was polite and respectful to others, honest to his friends, responsible for his missions, and took care of his sister. However, there was never a time when Nangongja indulged himself like this. He let himself become so talkative, so thick-skinned, and so shameless. Nangongja didn't understand and didn't want to understand. In fact, everyone was like this. Sometimes, when we were facing others, we would unconsciously add a lot of requirements to ourselves. We have to be polite, serious, and respectful. Although this was good for a person's life, it often made people lose themselves easily. It made him wonder why he was always living with a mask on his face. But that wasn't the case. Every side of every person was their own. However, she should also find someone who could let her be free. Perhaps to Nangongja, Mashiro was such a person. Even if the two of them hadn't known each other for a long time. Even if the two of them were just employees. Even if the two of them had been quarreling non-stop. This was a feeling that Nangongja had never experienced before. At this moment, Nangongja's body's internal energy was rotating a lot faster. Nangongja also felt a lot more comfortable. This kid has grown up. Liang muttered to himself when he noticed the changes in Nangongja's body. Inner strength could not only be strengthened through daily training and accumulation. At the same time, it also required a lot of mental strength. If a person's mind was clear, then the flow of his internal energy would become a lot smoother. This was the so-called state of mind. Without a good state of mind, no matter how much power one had, it was just a paper tiger that could be easily defeated. Chapter 37. Looking at the tall walls of Kikyo City, even the calm Nangongja couldn't help but relax a little. In fact, the distance between the Fire Country and Kikyo City wasn't that far, but Nangongja couldn't walk in a straight line. In a straight line, there were countless desert dangers such as quicksand, and there were no supply points. However, Nangongja was still fine. With his physical strength and endurance, he could endure it for a while. He didn't need to waste so much time. But Mashiro was different. although Mashiro's stamina was better than ordinary people. But compared to a ninja, it was still insufficient. After all, a ninja was a weapon that was trained to adapt to all kinds of harsh environments. It wasn't something that ordinary people could understand. How strong can a ninja's will to survive be? Nangongja saw with his own eyes that an enemy ninja was stabbed with no less than 10 bloody holes, and the blood flowing out was enough to dye the ground under his feet red. However, such an enemy was able to kill more than a dozen of Konoha's genin before dying of exhaustion. This was a ninja. Miyagi, is this Kikyo City? Mashiro followed and saw the magnificent city in front of him. He sighed and interrupted Nangongja's thoughts. It's so big. In the Fire Country, except for some magnificent cities in the capital, there weren't any big cities in other towns. It was the same in other countries, because in this era, the ninjas were the main means of invasion, and they couldn't be stopped by ordinary walls. And the high walls that could stop the ninjas and chakra were expensive to build, so most of the places didn't have such walls. This Kikyo city was originally jointly funded by the Fire Country and the Wind Country, and the two countries had an agreement that they wouldn't start a war in this city. Nangongja looked at the majestic city and sighed, but every time the Fire Country and the Wind Country went to war, this place would become a huge meat grinder. Because of its excellent defense against ninjas, it was almost a place that both sides would fight for, and it was used to store armaments. This is a meat grinder? Mashiro was surprised. That's right. Nangongja nodded and continued, although I don't know the specifics of World War II, I was one of the first to join the Sand Ninjas in World War III. I have experienced the seesaw attack and defense here. Both sides suffered heavy losses in that battle. Woodleaf lost at least 300 ninjas here, and the Sand Ninjas had more casualties because of the lack of medical ninjas. We can't get the exact data, but it's at least above 500. After hearing Nangongja's explanation, Mashiro fell silent. In fact, the two of them had also encountered bandits and robbers along the way. Mashiro had seen how Nangongja dealt with these people. Even though Nangongja had tried his best to use the least bloody method, he still tried his best to avoid Mashiro. However, it was inevitable that Mashiro would bump into him a few times. Even to this day, Mashiro could still remember that scene clearly. However, those were just a few robbers. At most, there were 5 or 6 of them, and they could cause such a tragic scene. Not to mention that Nangongja said that there were nearly 800 or 900 people. And this is just the number of deaths, the number of injured will only increase. Well. Seeing Mashiro's mood was a little low, Nangongja patted her head, these things are over, and there will be a day of peace and stability in the future. This is what we ninjas have always been thinking about. Well. Mashiro nodded and didn't say anything. The two of them walked to the gate of Kikyo City, handed over their ID, and entered the city. Looking at the bustling scene here, Mashiro's sadness seemed to be diluted a lot. Looking at Mashiro running around the streets, Nangongja finally smiled. In fact, before entering the city, Nangongja looked at Mashiro's expression, he already had some guesses. How old is Mashiro? But she can make the decision to travel to various countries like this. Nangongja believed that no matter what kind of parents they are, they wouldn't allow their child to do such a thing without the ability to protect themselves. Even when they set off, no one came to see them off. This can only prove that Mashiro's parents may not be alive. And what is the most likely reason for the death of a ninja's parents? War. So Mashiro wasn't just sad about the death of so many people, but more likely, she was sad about the death of her family. Of course, all of this is Nangongja's guess, and it can't be confirmed. But it also made Nangongja's heart more sympathetic. His experience of surviving in Woodleaf's small town was still vivid in his mind. How difficult it is for a child without power to survive in such a chaotic world. Nangong and his sister did it. Mashiro also did it. The hardships they went through are not worth mentioning. The two strolled around for a while, and then hurriedly went to find a hotel to stay. Even though the security in Kikyo City was excellent, it was still very dangerous. But Nangongzhe, as a hired ninja who has to protect Mashiro, still has to keep watch for Mashiro. Ninjas can quickly enter a deep sleep, and in a deep sleep for 30 to 40 minutes, they can even go without sleep for a week under special circumstances. So, Nangongzhe will keep watch for Mashiro every night. The moon was especially bright that night. There was not a single cloud in the thousands of miles of sky. Only the bright moonlight and a little bit of starlight dotted the black curtain of the night sky. The two's hotel is not far from the downtown area, and they can see the bright lights outside when they open the window. Mashiro brought an easel, a drawing board, and a lot of brushes and paints from her room. Slowly, she began to paint. At this moment, Mashiro seemed especially pious and holy. It was as if what she was facing was not just a drawing board, but the whole bright world. Her eyes were shining brightly. If a comparison had to be made, the current Mashiro was like Nangongzhe when he was obsessed with swordsmanship. A light breeze blew, bringing a bit of coolness to Nangongzhe, dispersing the scorching heat of the desert. Nangongzhe unknowingly fell asleep on the roof opposite Mashiro. When Nangongzhe opened her eyes again, the east of the sky was already turning white. Nangongzhe scratched his head. Since the end of the war, his vigilance has decreased. He can actually do something that can make him fall asleep at night. But Nangongzhe also knows that he is only in a light sleep, and will definitely react if there is any disturbance. But it is not good, so he secretly noted it down to warn himself. Looking down, Mashiro's drawing board from last night is still on the balcony. Curious, she jumped down to take a look. Chapter 38. Nangongzhe was a little surprised when he saw what was drawn on the painting. Nangongzhe felt that last night's moonlight, stars, and bustling streets were exceptionally beautiful. However, Mashiro had drawn the scene of last night with a heavenly aura. The dense smoke and fire were hidden behind the heavenly aura. It formed a different kind of beauty. What made Nangongzhe feel even more amused was that Mashiro seemed to have realized that he was keeping watch on the roof of the opposite house. She had actually drawn Nangongzhe in the painting. This girl. Nangongzhe looked at Mashiro's vivid painting of him sleeping and shook his head. Interesting. He turned his head and looked at Mashiro, who was sprawled out in her sleep. Nangongzhe did not say anything and disappeared in a flash. When Mashiro woke up, it was already past 11 o'clock. The blazing sun shone through the window onto Mashiro's body. This was a desert area. Even if it was the holidays, the air conditioning here was excellent. It wouldn't be of much use at noon. Mashiro could only moan under the unbearable heat and opened her sleepy eyes. After all, she had stayed up late to paint last night. Yo! You're awake. Mashiro had just woken up. Her consciousness was still blurry. When she heard someone greeting her, she subconsciously replied, "Morning." However, she immediately felt that something was wrong. She was in a hotel. A single room. The voice that greeted her was a man. Ah! An earth-shattering scream rang out. Mashiro picked up the pillow under her and threw it at Nangongzhe, who was sitting under the bed. Are you a pervert? You came to a girl's room early in the morning. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? To be honest, Nangongzhe had never thought that a girl's attack would be so powerful. He was a Jounin-level ninja, but he was actually beaten silly by a girl who had never trained before. Was she trying to beat an old driver to death with random punches? Something strange seemed to have sneaked in. Anyway, that was what it meant. Nangongzhe, who was chased out of the room, did not know what to say. Did I do something wrong? Actually, Nangongzhe went downstairs to buy breakfast and bring it over to Mashiro. However, Mashiro did not wake up. Nan Gongzhe went downstairs and asked for the room key. He was prepared to leave the breakfast and leave. But when she saw that Mashiro had woken up, she subconsciously greeted her. Then, it was a tragedy. Listen to me, Mashiro. I'm just here to deliver breakfast. I don't want anything else. Nan Gongzhe hastily explained. What else do you want? Another pillow was through. I didn't mean that. You, calm down. Breakfast is on the table. Nan Gongzhe thought for a while. Mashiro was angry now. Mashiro would not listen to anything he said. It would be better for him to leave first and let Zhenbai calm down so that he could explain himself. Get lost. Mashiro shouted in the room and there was no more movement. Nan Gongzhe could only leave slowly. Mashiro looked at the breakfast on the table. She did not know why, but she blushed. At least you have some snacks. Nan Gongzhe came out of the hotel. He did not know what to do and started to wander around. After all, Nan Gongzhe did not know much about the local customs other than coming here during the war. After all, the war had started. How many people could live and work in peace in the city? Just as Nan Gongzhe was wandering around, he suddenly heard a commotion in front of him. A lot of people gathered together. Hurry up and give me the money. This is our boss's territory. A person who was obviously a hoodlum was shouting at the boss of a shop. Nan Gongzhe took a look and whispered to the onlookers beside him to ask what was going on. It seems like you are not a local. The onlookers looked at Nan Gongzhe as if they didn't know anything and said, this is a protection fee. Although this Kikyo city is a border trade city jointly established by the Fire Country and the Wind Country, the two countries don't really care about it. Actually, the two countries don't think highly of merchants. The status of merchants is also very low. The finances of the big countries are mainly determined by the taxes collected from the farmers. Although the country also collects taxes from merchants, many big merchants are very resistant. The military power of the daimyo is not strong. The ninja villages all want the merchants to be rich. That way, they can get enough commission. The daimyo do not have enough power, and those who have enough power deliberately condone. This leads to all kinds of chaos in the market here and even more commercial cities. That hoodlum is from the #1 gang in Kikyo City. This boss is being taught a lesson because he borrowed money from the loan sharks and owes them protection fees. In fact, Nan Gongzhe wasn't very sensitive to business or politics. However, after listening to the description of the bystanders, he felt that the current environment had reached a strange balance. Only by breaking this balance can the business and maybe other industries recover their vitality. Even Nan Gongzhe understood, how can the big people not understand? Although the meat eaters are despicable, it does not mean that they are brainless. There may be more secrets that Nan Gongzhe did not know. Just as Nan Gongzhe was listening to the people's analysis, the situation escalated. The hoodlum took out a knife and put it on the boss's neck. Kid! If you can't pay, then think about what you can pay. If you can't pay, then you can pay with your cheap life. Just as the hoodlum was about to take out the knife, a hand grabbed his wrist. Little brother, this is a bit too much. The person who grabbed the hoodlum's hand was naturally Nan Gongzhe. In fact, Nan Gongzhe did not want to help. If you borrowed money from a high-risk loan shark, then you should be prepared to be exploited. You only have yourself to blame. But it was a bit too much to take someone's life so easily. Who do you think you are? You dare to meddle in my business? Here, I am the law, I am the rule. This kid did not follow the rules, so he should be punished. The hoodlum looked at Nan Gongzhe, who grabbed his wrist. The huge strength made the hoodlum feel a little guilty. Although his words were still arrogant, he had restrained himself a lot. Little brother, we are all here to make a living. Give me some face. This boss must know his mistake. As long as this shop is here, there will be a chance to pay back. It is not wise to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. Isn't it demeaning to kill someone within 7 steps? Nangongzhi did not plan to make a move and spoke nicely to the hoodlum. But his sharp eyes were staring at the hoodlum, which made the hoodlum shiver. He could only put down the knife in his hand and run away. Chapter 39. To Nangongzhi, the dispute between the hooligan and the vendor was nothing more than a trivial matter. After all, it didn't involve ninjas. Nangongzhi started his stroll again under the complicated gazes of the onlookers. However, after walking around for a while, he still felt that there was nothing special about Kikyo City. After all, Kikyo City was a commercial city. They were mainly receiving merchants who were coming and going. The status of merchants in this era meant that the standard of living and the level of culture here was just average. He looked up at the sky. The sun was about to set. Well. Nangongzhi nodded. Mashiro should have calmed down by now, right? Let's go back and see her. Nangongzhi was about to return to the hotel when he saw a shop selling octopus balls. Nangongzhi thought about it and decided to bring some food for Mashiro. After all, he only brought her breakfast. With Mashiro's character, she probably didn't even eat lunch. She should be starving now. Bringing some food could be considered as atonement and asking for forgiveness, right? With the steaming octopus balls, Nangongzhi quickly rushed to the rooftops on both sides of the street and moved quickly to the hotel he was staying in. When he reached Mashiro's room, he learned his lesson in the morning. Nangongzhi knocked on the door to make sure that Mashiro could receive him. Mashiro? Can I come in? I brought you delicious food. There was no movement in the room. Nangongzhi was a little nervous. Mashiro? There was still no movement. Nangongzhi knew that things might have changed, so he didn't go downstairs to open the door with the key. Then, he kicked the door open. The room was very messy, and there were obvious signs of a struggle. Kidnapping? Nangongzhi tried to suppress his excitement. Although he only spent a short time with Mashiro, Nangongzhi liked Mashiro's character and personality. How could such a person be treated in such a manner under his watch? Self-blame and anger intertwined and lingered in Nangongzhi's heart. Nangongzhi ran downstairs and stared straight at the hotel owner. This hotel wasn't a big one, and there was only one exit in front of the door. This proved that as long as the murderer was an ordinary person, there was an 80% chance that he or she went out from the door. Mashiro's room was messy enough to prove the murderer's strength. It was definitely not a ninja. Otherwise, the room wouldn't be in such a mess. You. What do you want? Nangongzhi's stare sent shivers down the owner's spine. Nangongzhi took out his Konoha shinobi headband from his arms. Boss, you should know this, right? Nangongzhi waved the forehead protector in his hand. If you know this, you should know that I'm a woodleaf ninja. The girl who stayed with me is my employer. Even if you haven't seen her before, you should be able to imagine what kind of methods a ninja will use to ensure the completion rate of their missions. After Nangongzhi finished speaking, he took out the black armor from his back. The sword stabbed into the side of the innkeeper's neck, forcing the innkeeper to lean against the wall. The boss was extremely nervous, and cold sweat kept coming out of his forehead. A few large beads of sweat slid down the black sword, and when they slid down the blade, there was a trace of blood. This scene scared the boss even more. However, anyone who could survive in Kikyo City and even open a hotel had a certain level of quality. After the initial fear, the boss slowly came back to his senses. Nangongzhi wouldn't kill him just like that, because no matter how chaotic Kikyo City was, it was still a matter of a group of ordinary people. If a ninja with high combat power personally came to cause trouble, the two countries wouldn't just sit back and watch. The boss reached out his short and thick fingers and pressed on Nangongzhi's sword. Ninja-sama. Please listen to me. The innkeeper regained his composure and said calmly, "Of course I know who kidnapped the young lady. However, this group of people can be said to be unscrupulous in Kikyo City. If I tell you, how can I live in peace?" Nangongja was still a young man, and his heart was still kind and compassionate. After hearing the boss's words, he understood. The boss was innocent. He was stuck between himself and the culprit, and he didn't know what to do. "You tell me where the culprit went, and I'll take care of it. I won't let you have any worries." Nangongja was anxious to save the young lady, so he said such a condition. "I naturally believe in Ninja-sama's strength. I will have my servant take you to the hall of that group of people." The boss turned around and called for a servant who was cleaning the backyard. After giving the order, he asked the servant to bring Nangongja away. Looking at Nangongja's back, the boss's mouth almost reached his ears. That was the #1 gang in Kikyo City. Although such a colossal existence was strong, how could it be a match for an expert like Nangongja? The boss had seen many people, and he could tell a person's strength from their spirit. In the boss's eyes, Nangongja was probably as strong as an elite Chunin. Genin could fight against 10 people, Chunin could fight against 100 people, Jonin could fight against 1,000 people, and Kage-Tier could laugh at 10,000 people. The people here were not ordinary people, but the most elite soldiers of each country. Nangongja could at least fight against 100 people, so this kind of gamble was worth it. Nangongja was quickly led by the servant to a large warehouse surrounded by lights. Nangongja knew this warehouse. It was where Woodleaf stored strategic materials. After the war between Woodleaf and the Sand, the things here were removed. It should be because of this that it fell into the hands of the so-called #1 gang in Kikyo City. This had an advantage, because Nangongja was familiar with the terrain. Thus, many battles could be realized. How could Nangongja not want to fight his way in? That would be so satisfying. However, Mashiro was still in the hands of the other party. If something happened to him, then Mashiro's life would be in great danger. This was the most important point. Nangongja once listened to White Fang's orders and received guidance from White Fang. His assassination skills were also very solid. Facing such a group of people with low strength, he could handle it with ease. After making up his mind, Nangongja pulled out his black sword. He lowered his breath, making his breath very weak, and slowly approached the various guard points in the warehouse. This night, the sword light was dim, but it took many lives. Chapter 40. This warehouse was originally occupied by Woodleaf ninjas during the war with Sand ninjas. Although Nangongja wasn't a ninja guarding this place, he was still a jonin. He knew some of the information that he should know. This warehouse was modified by Woodleaf ninjas. Nangongja didn't remember all of them, but he was very familiar with the key points. Ninjas were existences that walked in the shadows. The so-called Shinobi World War was just a strategy to compete for benefits between countries. Letting a group of assassins fight head-on was something that they would only do if they had no other choice. After all, compared to ninjas, ordinary soldiers were really useless. Because of this, each country only kept a small number of guards to guard their houses and walls. The soldiers who were really used in the war had long been eliminated. As Nangongja continued to harvest the lives of the gang members, the distribution of the people in this stronghold was also a little clearer. Sure enough, Nangongja didn't expect it to happen. The gang leaders were now basically gathered in a secret room that was specially built to store important materials. Even a cunning rabbit has 3 holes, let alone a ninja. This secret room happened to be one of the few secret rooms that Nangongja knew about. Nangongja quickly cleaned up the gangsters guarding the warehouse. After all, the difference in strength was too big. Nangongja entered the secret passage and reached the end of the secret passage in 2 or 3 minutes. Nangongja didn't rush out. He leaned on the partition and listened to the conversation in the secret room. Fourth brother. You're confused. An old voice sounded. Big brother, I know I was impulsive. But who knew that kid was actually a ninja? Woodleaf ninjas. You said, I've tied him up. It could be said that he had offended all of them. My life is now in danger, what else can I do? This so-called fourth brother, Nangongja, heard his voice and knew that he was the gangster he stopped during the day. For such a person to be ranked fourth, he had no idea how this gang had managed to get to their current position. Fourth brother, it's already like this. We can only find a way to solve it. The boss said, his tone was very heavy and a bit gloomy. This girl is the most important bargaining chip for your life. A ninja with a girl with no cultivation, 9 times out of 10, this girl is the employer or the target of protection. Ninjas don't care about anything, but they will never easily fail the task they take on. Treat the girl well, it's best if you can coax her. A girl at this age is very easy to trick. At the very least, you can't let her say bad things about you. Otherwise, you can imagine the consequences. After Big Brother said this, he didn't say anything else. Only fourth brother sighed in annoyance. I understand, boss. Fourth brother seemed to understand the key point. He nodded and walked out of the secret room accompanied by the sound of the door opening and closing. After fourth brother walked out of the secret room for a long time, the boss threw the crutch in his hand to the ground. You can't do anything right. If it weren't for your wide network in Kikyo City, I wouldn't have let you go. How can I let you go? The boss roared, his voice echoing in the secret room. Black hair, black clothes, black sword. Woodleaf Yama Nangongja. As for Nangongja, when fourth brother walked out of the door, he had already left the secret passage and followed him. To be honest, for this gang, Nangongja wasn't interested in it. Even if Nangongja was ruthless enough to destroy this gang and destroy their foundation, Kikyo City might be peaceful for a while, but it would be crushed by more gangs. In this era, if a city didn't have any underground forces, it could only mean that the city wasn't developed and prosperous enough. Underground forces were an inevitable outcome. Sometimes, if a city's underground forces were strong enough and had a certain scale, it would make the city more orderly. Because blindly abusing others, smashing and looting would only lead to digging one's own grave. Nangongja followed fourth brother and walked into a small independent building. The small building looked very ordinary, even a little shabby. It was a good place to hide someone. Fourth brother looked around, trying to see if anyone was following him. After looking around for a while, he took out a key and opened the door. Nangongja naturally couldn't swagger in from the front door like fourth brother. With a burst of strength, he ran up to the roof. His nimble body moved along the wall and entered the small building through a half-opened window. Nangongja slowly began to invade the small building. Based on the conversation between fourth brother and the boss, Nangongja was at least certain that Mashiro wouldn't be in danger. Therefore, Nangongja didn't need to use too much violence to forcibly remove him. Kikyo City was the face of the fire country and the wind country, and there were rules that forbade ninjas from using ninjutsu in the city. Although Nangongja didn't care if he went on a killing spree, it was still a slap in the face of the two countries. If he could avoid it, it was better not to do it. Soon, Nangongja found the place where Mashiro was being held. Because after fourth brother came in, he went straight to Mashiro. Their conversation was the best beacon. Not to mention fourth brother's soft words and persuasion. Mashiro's sobbing was like a clap of thunder that reached Nangongja's ears. Nangongja didn't intend to punish this group of hoodlums. But when he heard Mashiro's sobbing, Nangongja's chest was filled with anger. That naive and a little willful little girl. She's crying inside right now. This was the only thought in Nangongja's mind. Without thinking too much, Nangongja pulled out the black sword on his back. His internal energy surged and covered the black sword. With a light wave, a huge wave of energy rushed out. The wall in front of him was smashed to pieces. Seeing this, fourth brother was so scared that he knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. His head was bleeding on the ground. All kinds of begging words came out of his mouth. But Nangongja didn't listen to a single word. He just looked at Mashiro. Mashiro, I'm here to pick you up. Nangongja walked in front of Mashiro and gently hugged Mashiro's head. The black sword also cut the rope that bound Mashiro. Gong gong. Mashiro cried in Nangongja's arms. Let's go back. Nangongja looked at Mashiro and felt a throbbing pain in his heart. He hugged Mashiro in his arms. Okay. Let's go home. Mashiro agreed and fell asleep. Today's experience really made the little girl extremely tired. She's asleep? Just nice. Nangongja looked at Mashiro and then at fourth brother who was kneeling at his feet. How can I let you off so easily? He stabbed with his sword and blood splattered everywhere. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.